Hey, Gamb.
Hi, dear.
Hey, Barry.
Hi, dear.
How y'all doing?
Pretty good.
It's
Pretty good,
getting
bruv.
hotter. Oh yeah, bruv. It's getting a bit hot in it.
It's getting
like summer.
a my bit chilly by us.
Yeah.
I just realised it's spring, not summer. Fucking hell. Summer's gonna be fucking awful.
Oh, man. We...
Oh, God. I don't want to live.
Can you tell we watched a movie that may have been set in Britain or not?
A little bit British.
Wait, it was British? I
Yeah.
No,
thought
it was French.
No, it was
sorry.
not French.
No, it was French. I don't know what you're talking about.
It was very British.
It was,
It was so
we-
British you can't even pronounce the T in British.
yeah, it was
But,
so British we can't even say the T. There's no T in British.
There's no
British.
ish.
British.
I love this movie.
British.
I had a lot of fun rewatching.
I love this movie too.
I love it too.
Can we
It was
mention
great.
that the movie was Attack the Block finally?
Sure.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
the movie was Attack the Block. By the way.
It was Attack the Block, made in
No,
2011.
that's the Doctor Who theme, Barry.
Oh.
No, that's Doctor Doho. Anyway, 2011, main character being John Boyega, Mr. Star Wars himself.
That is true.
And
Mr. Star Wars, Disney doesn't want to invest in.
yes, and this is absolutely one of my favorite movies. And apparently, Barry,
It's definitely one of, if not my favorite monster movie.
yes,
I would honestly say probably the same for me. Although yeah.
there are so
Although
many.
I find it hard to say it's my favorite, like one of my favorite monster movies, because it's like I don't really like it because it's a monster movie.
No, that's fair.
You didn't like the monster
I-
parts of it?
No, I love the monster parts of it, but it's like it's not really the reason why I like it.
Yeah, the monster
Yes.
parts are good, but it's not the part you love.
But isn't that just the quintessential monster movie? The monsters are about something else.
Yeah,
Right.
that's pretty much what
Okay,
most good
Bong
monster.
Joon-ho.
Listen.
Uh,
So someone start me off. What happened in Attack the Block? Let's do a recap.
Oh yeah, Barry didn't stop. He was eating food. So
I was eating dinner for the beginning of the movie, but I was watching.
Yeah.
He was watching.
Yeah. Well, you see, it's a movie about an attack on the block.
What is
Oh,
a
what is
block?
the block?
Yeah.
The
Other
block.
than a TV show about renovation.
The block
I don't know
is
if you'll have
a block of apartments. It's a city block in South
Council
London.
flats.
In it.
Low income housing.
Yeah.
In it.
In it. Bruv.
In it.
And then it's attacked. That's the movie.
Yeah.
That's
The movie lasts
that's
about
the-
7 minutes, and then it's mostly an
Yes.
extended post-credit scene.
Exactly.
Yeah. Which, yeah. So. I'd watch it again, would you?
Yeah.
I
7
mean-
minutes? Hell yeah.
So Deer and I had both seen this movie before, right? But Gamb
Yep.
did not.
No, I hadn't. I've only seen clips of it, and I hadn't gotten around to doing it because I'm lazy and I don't watch things. And
I believe you
Yeah, I
said
feel
you
that.
had wanted to watch it, but
oh
never
yeah,
got
it's
around
on my.
to
It was on my list of things I wanted to watch, but it was like pretty far down on the list because like I've got a lot of things that I want to watch.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So here I'll just read my notes. Jesus Christ, what have I written?
Sup,
So
Pascam?
my first line is just Jodie Whittaker's on screen. Cool, I like her. And then it's just walk back to the flats, Jodie. Walk faster. Jesus Christ, walk faster. There's fireworks all over the place. And then John Boyega, no, don't rob Jodie Whittaker. You're so sexy.
Wait, Jodie Whittaker or John Boyega?
No. John Boyega starts mugging Jodie Whittaker because he's part of the gang of youths, lads,
Lads,
the
lads,
the lads, hoodlums, hoodlums,
Street rats.
Lads.
Kit Kats. Then suddenly, as they're mugging her, a meteorite falls from the sky and hits the car next to them. And I've noted that one of them just says, "It's the feds," immediately as it hits the car. And it was great.
Yeah, because they think it's the
then we
feds.
Yeah, then John Boyega's like, "I'm gonna stick my hand in there and touch it." And everyone's like, "What?" And he's like, "No, I'm gonna do it." And so he sticks his hand in, and suddenly the camera goes for like 7 different cuts, like different shots, because it's like, wow, you can't see what's going on. It's a little bit freaky. We see some type of creature. It's a little bit hairy, and then they all just like, "You just got fucking shanked by Dobby, didn't ya?"
It's like the best first 5 minutes of a movie.
It really is.
It's not like, oh, we're gonna spend like 10 minutes with each character getting to know them and their home life. It's just like they're mugging a woman.
Oh, God.
Meteorite shows down. He gets shanked by Dobby. Like that's all you need to know.
They totally could have done that. They could have done like a split screen of like Jodie Whittaker walking at night, and then like all the kids being like, "I'm going out for the night, Mum."
The thing is, they did
I'm
that
gonna
later
play
though.
Football.
Like getting a little bit
they did
ahead,
it
but it's
later.
like later you get these little peeks into their lives. But the pacing of that is so good.
Because that's the thing, like, at the beginning of the movie, it doesn't matter. We have the symbolism, like, the visual symbolism you can see already. They're hoodlums, they're going around causing trouble. And Jodie Whittaker is gonna be part of that trouble.
Yeah,
so
also, you don't even realize...
We don't need to know who they are yet.
Yeah, and not only that, you don't even realize that these kids mugging... her name was Sam, I think, in the movie?
Yes, Sam.
Her name is Jodie Whittaker.
Yeah, her name is Jodie Whittaker. You don't even realize, like, these are the main characters of the movie. You're just like, oh, she's just getting mugged. And, like, this sucks for her character.
Because it's kind of... from what I can tell and what I'm getting out of it, it's kind of the point of the movie that you're not meant to really... Not really meant to empathize with these characters in the beginning, because they're like, oh, they're just shitty youths. Like, they're fucking awful. Like, I don't care what happens to them. And then you learn more about them, and it's like, oh... Their lives are kind of shit, and it's kind of led them to be like this, hasn't it?
Yes.
And then suddenly you're realizing what this movie's actually about.
Yes.
Until it kind of hits you over the head a little bit.
And then, yeah, it hits you over the head just a little bit too hard.
Just to make it clear, in case you were still, like, on the fence.
Just to make it clear. And then you're like, okay, that was a little bit too much. And then it ends, and it's like, okay, I mean, okay. But anyway, Dobby fucks off. They don't know where it goes, and they're like, we gotta go fucking chase Dobby. So they're like, okay, we're gonna fuck him up. They find him in a little shack, and they throw a firework at him because it's Guy Fawkes night. Everyone has fireworks, because that's the only time that everyone has fireworks.
Which I love that also, like, they don't even go like, it's Guy Fawkes night, bruv. It just someone has a throwaway line about it being Halloween last week.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, that's
it.
And it's like, I mean, to be fair, you kind of know immediately if you're not American that like it's Guy Fawkes night.
Yeah,
it's like it's either New Year's or Guy Fawkes night, and they don't tend to have individual fireworks displays on New Year's Eve, so it's like it's probably Guy Fawkes night, or bonfire night if you want to call it that.
I don't want to call it.
So
I want to call it V for Vendetta night.
I would have a much worse name for it, so let's keep going.
I want to call it L'Anonymous night.
No, I would call it my abusive ex-fiance's anniversary night. Let's keep going.
No. No, dear. No.
Are we going to call it Blow Up the Government night?
Yes.
Hugo Weaving making omelets night. Anyway.
Yes. We should watch that.
I haven't seen that movie in ages.
Oh, it's so funny.
Yeah.
Anyway, they fuck up Dobby. They throw a firework in, and it kind of blinds it. You're like, "Whoa, this is something we're learning about this weird creature."
No, they're not trying to learn. They're just trying to fuck it up.
Yes.
No, we, the audience, learn. The hoodlums don't want to learn. They want to smash.
Yeah.
So they're like, "We're gonna fuck him up. Be a man." They run in, and John Boyega hits him. And they all run in after, and it's a great shot of like a wide shot of the shack and all the hoodlums, and you see them all run in, and it's great.
There's some very good cinematography in this movie.
There's some great cinematography.
Yes, absolutely.
I feel like it could have been better in a few places, but that's just nitpicky. So they kill Dobby, essentially. They're like, wow, we got a puppet. He looks a bit like a puppet. What are we gonna do? Let's go back to the block.
Ba-ba.
Da-da.
And then it slowly pans up to the sky. And you're like, that's the end of the movie. That's it, we did it.
Yeah. And it says, attack the block, and it's like, wow, that was the end of the movie. Now, everything from here on out is a post-credit scene.
Yes.
And so we go, okay, Jodie Whittaker's sitting down, clearly
before that, you see the logo, but then you also see a lot more meteorites in the sky, which is someone in the chat in Discord was like, "Oh, they're planting seeds for the sequel." That's really cool. I thought that was really good.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, he was like, "Oh, that's the movie. That's it." And then like all these other ones, ooh, sequel bait. That's exciting.
Sequel bait.
Yeah.
God, I'm glad they didn't do that at the end. That would have been fucking awful.
Yeah.
So we then cut back to Jodie Whittaker, who's sitting down in someone's flat and is, like, very clearly traumatized.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, the police don't care. We go back to the hoodlums, and they're like, what are we gonna do? It's like, we gotta get off the streets, like, in case the popo come. And then one of them's like, it's the busiest night of the year for the popo, so they won't chase us, it's fine.
Well, they bring the dead monster to the girls who also live on the block.
Well, first, before they do that, I noted something that I loved. The line that gets them to where they're gonna go. He goes, I knew this guy. He watches the Nature Channel. He can identify what it is. Which is great.
Yeah.
And then they're, like, calling up all their carers and everything and be like, hey, I'm gonna be out longer. And then one of them's describing what's going on. It's like, yeah, we found an alien. It's like some Gears of War shit. It's like, wow. Wonder what year this movie was made in. I don't know why I have written down I don't want chlamydia.
That was one of the girls. So
yes, one of the girls was like, I don't want chlamydia from it.
That's right.
You just wrote that down
now
with
I
no
understand.
context.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just wrote that down with no context.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, sure.
It's, you know, as you do. Because they go to the girls, and the girls are like, what the fuck, we don't want this, get out of here. And so they get out of there, and they go up the block further, higher, to, hey, Nick Frost. How you doing?
Hey.
Just hanging out.
He's just hanging out,
Having
smoking
time.
weed.
Dude.
Oh god. I'm trying to read my notes, and I'm like, why have I written this?
Amazing.
Do
they run into Mayhem and Probs before they go up?
I was about to say, yeah, before they go up, they run into Mayhem and Probs, two little kids, like 9 years old, who they don't get called the names they want. They're called their real names, Reginald and something. But they really want to be called Mayhem and Probs, but no one sees them as equals.
Yes.
So
they're just kids.
You feel so sorry for them. They're just kids.
I mean, they're all just kids, but these are like young children.
These are like 8-year-old kids.
Yeah.
And as they're walking away, because they blew off Mayhem and Probs, one of them just says, "Go suck your mum," which is a classic line. Then we cut to a white college boy who just says, "Dad, I'm at the cinema. Leave me alone." Like, it's very clear he's not at the cinema. He's on the phone.
Yeah, like all of them are basically on the phone at this point, like talking to
and also
whoever.
at this point we're like maybe 5 or 10 minutes into the movie. If at this point your brain hasn't acclimated to the British slang, you probably are not gonna enjoy the rest of the movie.
Yep.
Because they just drop you the fuck in and are like, you need to swim. It's time to swim. And if you're like me, you're like, what does half of this slang mean? Why do they keep calling each other bruv? Are they brothers? I don't understand.
Yeah, totally.
And then you're like, oh, I get it. They're just talking to each other. It's fine.
Yeah. So at this point, they all pile in except for College Boy, and he's like, I'll take the next one, because he's scared of the hoodlums.
Yes.
Because, you know, they're threatening. They have threatening auras. Like, they're the scum of society.
Also a dead monster.
Also a dead monster, but it's mainly...
Everyone thinks it's mainly, a puppet.
Like, that's... Everyone kind of thinks... No one thinks it's a real monster. So they go up to Nick Frost. Hi, Nick Frost. They chill out on his couch for a bit. Turns out College Boy was also going there. And then they're like, we need to find someone to identify this. And I've just written down, one of them says, look under yellow pages, A for aliens.
One of them also mentioned something about eBay to like
sell
the monster.
So they pretty much
because they're trying to figure out how to get the most money from it.
Right. They sell exclusive rights to the media.
So they're pretty much like, well, we could sell it, we could do this, and like, well, let's talk to a scientist and see what we can do. And they're like, how are we going to find one? You know, look in the yellow pages. What? Under A for aliens or some shit, bruh. And it's just like,
Yeah. And then he's like, no, we can't talk to the tabloids. The FBI will be down on us. He's like, FBI? We're fucking British.
Yeah.
It'll be like Section
6 or something.
Yeah, there's no FBI in Britain.
Yeah.
I mean, I love that, though, because it shows, like, the America-centric sort of media, like, that people grow up with. It's like, you're in that situation, you're so used to seeing American films where it's like, oh, if we do this, the FBI will come. It's like, wait, what is the equivalent in my country? Does my country have an equivalent to the FBI? I don't fucking know! And it's, College Boy is, like, really awkward, and he's like, I'm gonna join in, like, yeah, haha, jokes, man, nice jokes, and everyone stops and stares at him. and he's like, I hang on, I did a zoology course at college. I can do this
at uni.
It's like, yeah, it's like that thing in there isn't anything that I can think of.
No
what it would
taxonomy
be.
I've ever seen before, bruv.
Yeah.
It's like, hang on, let's all stop and watch this nature documentary about moths and pheromones, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But in context, it doesn't feel like foreshadowing because they're just smoking weed
No, it
watching a
doesn't.
nature documentary.
Yes,
So it's
it
just-
absolutely
it doesn't.
It's very good.
And then we have John Boyega talking to Nick Frost, and he's like, I need to keep this puppet that's not a puppet in the weed room because that's the safest place on the block. And he's like, well, you got to go talk to Hi Hat. I keep on calling him High Top, but his name is Hi Hats.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The
You gotta
boss
talk to Hi
man's
Hats.
here.
He's like,
And he's like, oh,
the boss man.
And he's clearly nervous about the boss man.
Yeah, he's nervous about the boss man. It's like, oh, something's going on here. And this is where like the movie really starts to hit you with the messaging. Because he's like, he goes in there and this hi-hats is a little bit, I would say, kind of up himself and very... a man with power who doesn't really know how to utilize the power.
Yes.
And he's like, yeah, you can keep it in here. And he puts his glasses on top of the puppet. He's like, wow, that's great.
But
and
also...
then he gets a pack of durries and gives it to John Boyega and is like, you're going to do a job for me now.
You work
owe
for me.
It's like, I want 300 from that pack. And it's like, woof. Oh boy.
well...
And yeah, it's As I in my notes, I've written down endemic poverty exploitation.
Lamau.
Lamau. Oh wait, after that is when they start watching the moths because my notes just say moths are cool.
Yeah, it kind of cuts
And then
back to them out in the living room.
Yeah.
And so the lads are all happy because he's like, "You got a job, didn't you, bruv?" And John Boyega's like, "Maybe I did."
He's like very
I'm
coy
like, oh,
and,
man.
and
Yeah.
smirking about it.
Yeah, it's like, oh man, this is a cause of celebration for them because, yeah, I mean, that means money for them. It's like, that's the only way they can really earn money in their
They're
line of living.
moving up in the world. Wait,
Yeah,
are you
moving up in their
saying
world.
this movie has deeper meanings, Gamb?
Moving up in the block.
I mean, this movie has a lot to say about the societal living of low-income people, and especially people of color in a country such as Britain with a long history of neoliberalism starting mainly back in Margaret Thatcher's era.
Wow.
Anyway, we'll get to that when we get to the Union Jack flag. So we got they're looking out the window and they're like, oh shit, there's more of them, bruv. And we see more of these alien meteorites fall down. You're just like, oh shit, we're gonna go fight them. Let's go.
And
Lads,
Nick Frost
lads,
looks out and he's just like, oh, fireworks. Neat.
Yeah, yeah, Nick Frost is like, fireworks. And then one of them immediately like, nah, fireworks is all up and down. These ones are pure coming down.
Yeah.
There's some really
It's
good
great.
lines in this movie.
It's some really good lines. So the lads all run out the door, and Nick Frost is like kind of dazed, like, cool, good for you guys.
He's just high as fuck.
And then this is where we get the introduction really to their characters of like, okay, they're all going back home to get their weapons to go fight the enemy, and the main thing to take away is one of them has to bring the dog with them, and it's like, oh man, we all know what's gonna
Because
fucking
they're
happen.
all in different ways lying to their parents or guardians about what they're up to, and while grabbing chains and bats and stuff.
I mean, mood.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, they're off to see the wizard. They got a moped, they got like a samurai katana, they got like baseball bats, machetes, a dog. The lads are ready to fight. So they go outside and they like, oh shit, there's one, and then the dog immediately runs towards it, and they're like, wait, come back.
Well,
it goes over the hill.
You're glossing over the fact that scene contains, I'm pretty sure, bar none, my favorite monster reveal of any movie I've ever seen.
Yes.
Well, we haven't. The monster doesn't really get revealed yet, though. Not until we.
Oh no, you're
find
right.
the
You're right.
favorite
You're right.
dog.
Because it's after the dog.
So the dog goes... Yeah, because the dog goes over the hill, and they were like, oh, shit, the dog, come back, you found one of them. And then we hear the dog die, and it's like, well, at least they got it over and done with real quick, so we didn't have to, like, spend the entire movie going, that dog's gonna die, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, what the guy who owns the dog is like, I'm gonna run after the dog, and John Boyega's like, don't, you'll die.
Well, Barry,
because...
since this is your favorite monster movie review, why don't you keep going?
Oh, well, yeah, but then they hold back the... Was it the Glasses kid? It was his dog?
I think it was Glasses?
No.
I can't remember.
No,
it was Dumpster Boy, wasn't it?
Nope, it was Katana.
It was Katana.
It was Katana, that's right.
It was Weeb, as we were calling it.
And then they make a point that Glasses kid can't see the thing over there. And they're like, put your fucking contacts in. And he puts glasses on.
Right. And then that's when you see this black lumbering beast in silhouette, or is it, moving towards them. And you see these two...
Well, the thing is, you can barely see it. It's like you see something moving, and it's like, what is that? I can't really see it. And then
you see these two glowing green points of light, and they're like, oh, I see its eyes. And then John Boyega Moses is like, they ain't eyes, bruv. And then you get this closer shot of its eyes that aren't eyes being parts of its mouth that then opens. And I fucking love that shot so much.
It's so good.
It's so good. And they don't even dwell
shot.
on it that long. They're just like, oh, it's got glowing mouth, and then it runs at them. And you're like, oh my god, I love it.
And it tends to also have like this lamprey style mouth with like three or four rows of teeth.
It's got like a circle of teeth.
Yes.
And they're glowing like a glow stick. And
it's like fluorescent teeth.
And
like
then
phosphorus teeth, actually.
And
that's
it
probably
bounds at them. And it's like, I fucking love the monster design so much. It's
the
like
design and the audio design of it is both great.
Yeah, it's the roars are very animalistic with this like weird synth pew pew laser gun on top, and it's so bizarre. But it works.
Yeah, it's delicious.
But it's like such a simple. It's just like a weird kind of monkey gorilla thing. But the main thing is that they're pure black, so they really are hard to kind of define features of. But then you have these glowing mouths.
I was gonna say you kind of go back and forth between them being dogs or them being monkeys, because there are shots you see them with very long arms at certain points, but then there's other shots where they're like all in a group that you're like, those just look like fucking wolves.
Well, the good thing is also you never actually see a shot where you see the entire monster.
Yes.
You either see like an obscured, like in the distance shot of it from the front, or you see the top half of it. But like, because if you saw the entire monster, you would very easily, very quickly see how the person fits into the costume.
Right.
We'll get to that. Keep going.
The complete like there's one scene where you can see it very clearly, and it's like you could have upped the camera a tiny bit.
So just keep going. We'll get to that.
Well, yeah, I know. I'm getting at this thing is bounding at them, and they're running away. They're like, oh shit, that's a big doggo. We gotta run. And
that's a glowing doggo, isn't it?
They run past Probs and Mayhem, who are like, hey, we're coming to fight too. And they're like, fuck off, there's an alien. They're like, haha, alien. They turn around, they're like, oh,
fuck
alien.
That.
And then it cuts again. And we see the lads running still, and on their bike running, and John Boyega's pedaling as fast as he can with someone, I forget who, on the back. And suddenly the feds appear, and it's the feds. Oh no, the feds are after them. And then whoever's on the back of the bike just fucking throws John Boyega under the fucking bus.
Yes.
Like, jumps off the bike.
Almost literally.
Which tips the bike over. John Boyega gets arrested, and we find Jodie Whittaker's in the police truck with the police, and it's like, I mean, I guess, but that's a weird thing.
It's a little bit weird.
I know they're driving around to identify the hoodlums, but like,
especially because they already established that it's their busiest night of the year.
Yeah.
But
okay.
If it wasn't the busiest night of the year, I could understand, but like, I don't know.
Well, that was the other thing I wanted to mention, was that like, I think it's genius that they said it on Guy Fawkes night, because you have constant banging, which just covers up, because it's like the kind of thing when you're an asshole like me and you're watching the movie, you're like, a neighbor would have been like, what the fuck is going on? But it's like, it's Guy Fawkes night, so it's just, there's explosions and bangs, and And people are not
Yeah.
paying attention to all these other fireworks and things that they're doing.
Well,
And gunshots.
plus also it's low-income housing where there's kind of the rule of thumb of if you hear a loud noise, you kind of want to ignore it.
Sure. But on top of that, there's like an extra level. Because you have people like Sam, who are clearly new transplants to the area.
Yeah, it's like an ogre. There's layers to it.
Yeah,
Yes.
there you go. There you go.
So John Boyega's getting arrested, and he looks behind him and he sees the doggo still chasing him and like slowly prowling
Stalking.
towards him.
Yeah.
And he just says to the feds are like, blah 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 blah. Is this you? Can you confirm that you mugged this woman? He's like, I don't fucking care. Just get me in that van right away. Like,
Yeah.
I don't just fucking get me in the van right now.
But he says it
gets
cool.
in the van,
He
the
says
police-
it cool. He's like,
Yeah,
you
he
better
said-
get me in
He
the
says
van.
it cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's just like, I don't care. Get me in the van. And you're
What
like,
the
oh
fuck
shit,
are you
something's gone
sending me,
down.
dear?
Don't worry
And
about
then-
it.
The other four lads are sort of looking from a catwalk, like down. They're like, "Oh shit, the thing's there! We gotta rescue him, lads!" And then you see the police like outside, still talking, like writing the notes down and everything. And Jodie Whittaker notices the lad too, the big doggo lad. And she's like, "What the hell is that?"
What
and
the
then
heck?
suddenly, it attacks, and
Oh.
the minute John Boyega gets locked in the back of the van, the alien attacks and hits the fucking policeman.
He just explodes into
the
blood.
back of the van, and he explodes, and it's great.
Mhm.
Yep.
And the other police officer's instant instinct is not, what was that? But it's get his stick out and get ready to attack something.
Hello,
Because
what's all this then?
Because he would instantly think, okay, it's some other hoodlums trying to get him out of the van.
Yes.
So I'm going to get my stick out to prevent them from doing that. It's a great little touch that I love. And so he goes back behind, and Jodie Whittaker's watching him, and suddenly he's fucking on the ground banging against the van because he's like flailing about.
There's this shot of just Jodie Whittaker where you just see this explosion of like raspberry jam on the window, and it's
Yeah,
so over
it's
the
great.
top. It's so much fun. It's just like, he's dead. Don't worry about it.
And then the doggo jumps on top, starts clawing into the van, trying to get through it, and he's like very slowly, because it's kind of tough for him, but not really, to get into the van. And the lads are like, "We gotta do something. I got a firework. This'll do it." It's a one of those firecrackers that just stay in place.
And
Yeah.
Jodie's
and they're like-
running around inside the van and winds up in the back and looks over and goes. She's like 2 inches away from Moses' face, locked up on in the back of the paddy wagon. And she's like, "Oh hey,"
Yep.
and he's like, "Hey, sup?
He's like, "Let me out."
Yeah, please.
Um,
How you doing?"
And she freezes completely because she's like not wanting any of this. She's still traumatized from the hoodlums. Some aliens attacking, and then she's like, "Oh, the only one who survived this encounter so far is me and the guy who's mugged me, and he's asking me to let him out of the cage
Into
Yeah.
the van with her.
What do I do?"
Yeah.
Yeah, into the van with me. It's like, what do I do? And it's like, yeah, no, she's having a fucking awful night.
Yep.
And then they throw the firework and it lands under the truck, and I'm like, why would you throw it under the truck?
God.
Because
But
it doesn't go with every
thankfully-
other movie trope. It doesn't immediately explode the van. It just
Yeah.
fires out fireworks underneath the van.
Well,
They-
the thing is, if it hit the gas,
So
tank.
the other
I
big
guess.
thing is that they threw it and didn't look where they threw it.
Yeah, which I guess excuses it, but oh well.
Well, it's kinda
it goes
yeeted
off
in
and
the
it
general
scares
direction.
The monster.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because they remember that earlier the other alien didn't like the firework that they shot at it. It kind of blinded them. So like, maybe it'll work again. So they shoot it, and the alien's like, "Whoa, rave!" And the
No.
boys are like, "We're gonna go save this lad." And so Weeb gets on his moped and he drives down, prepares his katana, and he's like, "This is for you, doggo."
And then you have an awesome fucking
and-
shot of him driving towards the van, and you have the firework going
Yeah.
off, and then the smaller streamers being fired into it. He's just riding
So
with his
good.
katana out. Like, it's so epic for like a very kind of simple scene. It's very grounded.
It's such a. It's so grounded in like the way that a kid that age would think about it as well. Because it's like, you think about it like from a practical point of view, driving like that, the katana's not going to do anything.
No.
Like, you're not gonna have.
Also,
the
he's on
strength
like
to do
a
both
moped
things.
with like
But-
a rack for carrying pizzas on the back. Like,
Yeah,
it's not
yeah,
the most badass
it's-
ride, but it's just like such a cool moment.
Yeah, it's so good. So he drives up, gets inside the van, and one of the aliens like, oh shit, it's gonna bite him, but he manages to fend it off, and he's like, I came here in time, and John Boyega's just like, took you fucking long enough. And he gets out of the cage, and Jodie Whittaker immediately goes in the cage and shuts the door because she's terrified.
Right.
Yep.
And they're like, what are we gonna do? And they're like, we gotta jack the van. So they start driving to get this fucking alien get away from it. And they're driving, I'm sorry, I just read the notes that I wrote for him driving up with the samurai sword. I just realized I wrote pizza delivery, beep beep, samurai pizza, side of dead dog.
Oh no.
So the college boy, we cut back to the college boy for a bit, and he's like walking dazed a bit, because he's still high, and he unlocks his car, and that's when we learn it's the car that had the first meteorite hit it. And it's like, whoops, your car's fucked, bro. And he immediately hears a police siren and just dives into a bush because he's high. So if he gets caught,
He also was there to
so-
buy weed, so presumably he has more on him.
yeah, he'd be holding weed. So he calls back Nick Frost and he's like, bro, you gotta help me. You gotta help me come back. Like my dad's car is ruined. Like, and I'm shit scared that the police are gonna get me. You gotta look out for me. And Nick Frost is like, it's okay. I've got the binoculars out. And he's just standing at his window, calmly looking around, seeing if there's any police sirens that he can see. And he's like, there ain't a sight of blue.
He's like, there's a fire truck over by this place, and oh no, the Blockbuster's closed.
Oh no, the Blockbuster's closed. Fucking, that's such a Nick Frost line.
Very good.
Okay, so we cut back to the lads now driving in the police van with the other lads in tow, and we're going under the parking lot of the block. They turn around the corner, and oh shit, they've just completely hit Hi-Hat's car.
With Hi-Hat in it, and his buddy.
With Hi-Hat in
Oh,
it, and his
fuck.
buddy. Don't know his name because he's about to be dead.
Spoilers. And
Spoilers for
Hi-Hat
5
and his
seconds
buddy
in the future.
freaked the fuck out because a police van just crashed into them.
Yes.
Yeah, and they're like, oh shit, we can't go to jail. And then Hi-Hat's friend is like, wait a minute, there's youths in there. They ain't police.
There's youths in there.
Youths in there. And so, and so then, they get out of the car, and he's like, hand me, I forget exactly what he says.
Well,
he's like, hand me the
first,
stick or something.
Jody is just like, get me the fuck out of the van. And they're just like, oh,
Yeah.
how are the turntables? But then they let her go.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, you're
Then they let her
welcome.
go.
And she's like, fuck you, my heroes. Or whatever
Yeah,
she says.
she's like, she's the John Boyega's like, are you even gonna thank us? And she's like, my fucking
Yeah.
heroes.
And then
Yeah.
she runs
It's
the
like-
fuck away.
You
She
literally
runs the fuck
mugged
away.
her like 30 minutes earlier.
Yeah, but I mean, this is kind of the through line of the movie. The point of like, who really is a hero in this type of situation? So the Hi-Hats is rightfully pissed, and all the lads are like, okay, we gotta play this smooth. We gotta like be careful what we say. And then, boy, I can't call him what I usually call him because it hasn't happened yet.
Not yet.
Boy with tassel,
yeah,
beanie,
earmuff tassel hat.
earmuff tassel beanie boy.
Mhm.
Just goes, it's aliens, bruv. There's fucking aliens, like gorilla dog alien with big teeth. They're gone. You gotta believe us, Hi-Hats. And John Boyega, you could see it on his face, just like, what the fuck have you done? Like, we're
Yep.
gonna die now because of you. And then Hi-Hats is like, pulls out his gun, points it at them, and is like, say that word again and I'll shoot you. And he's like, tell me what's going on. He's like, bro, you gotta watch out behind you. There's one of them dog gorilla things behind you. He's like, what are you saying?
I
Say
think they
it.
start
He's
calling
like,
it a bear at this point.
Do they call it a bear? I think
Yes.
he calls it more a gorilla dog bear thing.
Yeah, he starts calling it like a gorilla bear at this point. Like
It's one of like 50
Pet-
words he's using because he can't
Yeah.
use alien at this
Yeah.
point.
Pest
Feather dude.
Pest himself uses like a million words, which
Pest?
by the
Oh,
way,
yeah,
this
that's his
kid's name
actual
is
name.
Pest.
Pest.
So they actually turn around because they hear a thump. And you see the black shadow just fall behind the car, and you're like, was that one of the... That was definitely one of the aliens.
Mm-hmm.
And then Hi-Hats points his gun, and he's like, to his friend, he's like, go check it out. And his friend's like, are you fucking kidding me? No. And he points his gun at him, he's like, okay.
Yeah,
okay,
bitch.
I don't know what his name is, because he's walking behind the car, and you're like, oh, what's going to happen?
He does this slow
He's
look
like,
back at the group, and like that's when the sad Hulk theme needs to start playing.
Yeah.
Well, it's not just the sad look; it's the sad look on the wide shot.
Yeah,
and
just
it's
like,
oh, gee,
here I
I
go.
wonder what's gonna happen.
Here I go,
and
fellas.
he's like, "There's nothing here, bruv." And then, boom! He's slammed against the wall, being eaten completely, and we see a lovely special effect of his throat being like torn and ripped out.
Yeah.
It's
Yep.
delicious.
Yeah. They don't
yeah.
really shy
And
away
Hi-Hat's
from the
like-
gore in this. It's like not extremely
No, they
present, but when it happens, you know what happened.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not too gory either. It's a lot more surface level gore. Like, it's not like offal and shit that you see.
Yeah.
Like, you don't see intestines flying everywhere. It's like mainly skin being ripped.
Yeah, I think with the exception of a
Muscles.
later death, which is maybe a little bit
With
more,
the exception
a little
of
more
the
visceral.
greatest death.
Yeah. We'll get to that.
Yeah, we'll get to
the
that.
best death. So, Hi-Hats turns around and he's like, I can do this. He starts shooting the alien, and it's like, oh shit, everyone get back in the
And the
car.
lads
We've got a
just
moment
get the
to get
fuck
away.
out.
Yep, the lads are fucking gone. So they're back in the block, and they're like, wait, why did they... Oh, okay, they're not at the block, they're at a different place, and they're like, we gotta find a way to get back to the block, because the car's fucked, and they're like, I have an idea. And then, I don't know what set it up, I might have missed it, but they're like, in a garage with like 3 or 4 motorcycles, and they're like, all of the lads are on some type of vehicle in order to get back to the block, because they're fucked. So we have a chase now. It's a cool little chase scene where we have like the different perspectives of all the different lads trying to get back to the block on their little motorcycle or moped or just plain old bicycle. And we see the first 2 make it, and we see a third one make it, and we see a 4th one being chased by an alien, and they're like, oh no, what are we gonna do? And he gets there just in time, and
Just in
he gets
time
through the door, they're
for
safe.
his leg to get
Just in
chomped.
time for the alien to bite through the door and chomp his leg, and that's why
Yep.
he is called Leg Bite.
Yeah. As
That
far
was-
as we
that was
call him,
Pest.
because we didn't know their names.
His name
Wait,
is
was that-
Pest. Yes, that was
Yeah.
Pest.
I thought Pest was in the dumpster because that's where the 5th
Nope.
one goes.
Nope.
That's just another kid. I
Okay.
think that's
So-
Biggs is in the dumpster.
Okay. Well, the fifth one doesn't make it back to the block. He basically he trips off his motorcycle and he becomes Dante, and because the alien lands next to him, so he grabs the motorcycle and uses it as a weapon against the monster, which is great. And then he uses the distraction to just run straight towards a dumpster, jumps inside, and is like, I'm staying in here for the rest of the fucking movie. Fuck you.
But before that, isn't that when he completes his arc, which is that he wants to do some parkour?
Yeah, he wants to
Yes.
do some parkour, and he completes his arc by making the big
By
jump.
making the jump to
Yeah.
the stairwell. Yeah.
It's
a
fantastic.
good moment.
The arcs in this movie.
There's so many arcs. I mean, it's the kind of movie where there's like a million little things that happen in the first 20 minutes, and almost all of them come back to play in some way. And it's always like when you see it, you're like, oh, okay, this is gonna happen. But it's just like, I don't know, it's like eye candy or something. It's just like so satisfying
Yes.
to be like, let's check all those boxes of things that happened that we didn't realize were gonna matter later.
So we cut back to Jodie Whittaker, who's having a nervous fucking breakdown as she's getting back to her door. She's trying to open her door, and then suddenly the youths that mugged her earlier
youths.
start running at her screaming, and she's like, "Oh God!" She
Yep.
opens her door, runs inside, tries to shut the door, but John Boyega sticks his foot in and pushes the door open. And is like, "We're gonna come in," and she's like freaking the fuck out, runs towards her bedroom, locks herself in, and is like, The lads come in holding a leg bite, trying to like lay him down to be like, oh fuck, we gotta stop this. And she comes out of the bedroom with her guitar and she's like, get the fuck out of my flat. And they're like, we got bigger problems than us, love. Like,
We're on the same
there's
side
scarier
now.
things than us tonight. We're on the same
And
side
she's like,
now. She's like, like, it's like, I can understand y'all saying that, but like...
Because she saw the aliens fuck up the police, but she was just like, oh, those are just weird big dogs. And they're like, those are dog
they're
dogs.
just weird big dogs.
I believe what they say is that she thinks they trained dogs to attack the police.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then the leg bite is just fucking over it. He's like, "They ain't no fucking dog love. There's fucking aliens." He's just completely gone.
I forget what he says, but he
sense.
names a brand of dog treats to be like, you think we could fucking
yeah. Go out. If you think they're just dogs love, why don't you go out there and feed them some pedigree mush?
It's just like, dude is openly bleeding on the couch, but he's still a little shit.
Yeah, my one criticism of this scene, and, like, it's not a criticism, really, because I understand why they didn't. Because it's part of their character. Because they didn't think to. Because they don't really empathize with those around them, because they've been taught not to. But it's like, Jodie Whittaker's panicking, and they're just like, shut up, we gotta deal with this. Like, it would have calmed her down a lot quicker if you just said, hey, there's aliens out there. They just bit our dude. Like, we need your help. Like, please, like, this...
Look at his leg.
We're sorry for earlier, but, like, we need your help right now. Instead of being like, shut up, we got bigger things to deal with. Like, but it's like, I understand why, because it's part of their character. It's just a personal thing that's like, oh, man. If I was in that situation, it would have been different. But I wasn't in the situation, which is why
the movie works, because they're not like, hey, okay, now is the time to have a calm conversation about what to do next. No. They're just yelling at each other and just like, oh, fuck,
it's not unrealistic at all.
They're absolutely just scared kids with masculine fucking problems and, like, toxic masculinity problems and shit, and it just shows everywhere.
Yep.
Yeah. So they're like... no, that's the other thing that he says. She's like, we gotta call the police. And then Legbite just goes, you better off fucking calling Ghostbusters, love.
There's lots of little lines like that. They're just like, nice.
And they keep going. Not even the best line that involves calling the police.
No, I know what you're talking about.
Later.
Yeah. It's not even a line.
So they're like, we gotta go up. I know the safest place in this building, because, surprise, surprise, they hear a knock at the door, and John Boyega's like,
it's more of a thump than a knock, but yeah.
Well, okay, thump at the door, whatever. John Boyega's like, I'll go check the pizza. And he looks through the peephole, and you don't see anything, and then suddenly, oh god, it's a doggo! There's a doggo at the door.
You know what's great about that bit, though, is it's like, you see that there's nothing at the peephole, and you're like, okay, now's when it jumps, and nothing happens. And then it jumps. They, like, give you an extra beat to wait, which is fun.
It's great.
Yeah.
And then he's like, fuck! And he runs, and it bursts through the door, he shuts the other door, and like, we gotta do something. And then the first amazing part of the movie happens, where he... Was this the first kill with the katana? Because I'm pretty sure it is.
I think the thing that you're thinking of is later, because that's inside the inside of Nick Frost's flat.
Well, this is the one where the alien runs in so quickly, and you're like, oh god, what's gonna happen? And then it's dead.
Right.
Immediately.
Yeah.
And it's because John Boyega hits him in the head immediately with the katana.
Yes, you're right.
Or was that a different
no,
sword
you're
that
correct.
he was holding?
That's the scene. Yeah, I'm thinking of later.
That was great, because I was like, okay, cool, we're gonna have a scene where, like, they're gonna, like, try and run away while, like, trying to court it. It's gonna be cool. But it's like, nope, he runs in, and John Boyega's just, like,
chops it down.
Straight in the head.
Because that's when both of you were like, oh, I guess it's not a fake katana. Because he just completely destroys it.
Yeah, because it's standard when you buy a katana that most of the time it's gonna be not an actual usable one, it's just a decorative one, because it's cheaper to get a decorative one than a...
It's usually a steel or, like... base iron piece of shit. It's not folded metal. It's usually not sharpened. And most people don't think of that when they look at them, and they're just like, oh, hey, metal sword, it works.
Yeah.
It looks cool.
I just realized, no, you're right, it is where the katana is, because my notes here just say, weeb save the day.
Right. But you're right, because that definitely is setting it up to be like, oh, they're going to have this, like, showdown with this monster, and it's just, nope, it's dead.
Yeah.
And that's when you have, like, you have one of your best looks at it, because they kind of look down on it, and they're like, oh, it's so black, bruv. It's blacker than black. And that's where we're all making, our Vanta Black jokes.
Actual, like...
Vanta Black. Black 2.0.
It's blacker than my cousin. That's what he says.
Yes.
But I love the look of, like, the wound as well, where the katana goes into it. It's such a nice, like, look where, like, you can... The only way you can see that's where it got hit is because the katana's still in it. And there's, like, a slight bit of blood that you can see. You can barely see it, but you can still see some type of blood. It's great. Yeah. So then they're like, okay, we gotta go in the hallway, and then it's dark in the hallway, and they're like, we gotta go to the hi-hats until things cool down.
So, because I'm ignorant and I have no idea how the world works, my assumption is that the lights in the block just, like, go off and they're on a timer or something. But I have no idea what's up with that.
I don't know, because I don't actually live in the UK, so I don't know about their actual situation with low-income housing. But considering how much their governments hate the poor, I wouldn't be surprised if it actually is on a timer.
Yeah.
On a timer or just such shit wiring.
That
like,
could also be it. But it wasn't like flickering. It was like you would just see it like dipping down, and then later would kind of rise back up. So it seemed very deliberate. It didn't seem like power outages or anything. But again, I don't know.
Like, we gotta go. So then we cut to hi-hats, and sorry, all I've written down for the scene where we're like outside the block and like trying to see what's going on is just, that's my block, they can't attack my block, which is not what he says, but it's what I took away from that scene.
Close,
because it's basically.
That's pretty much what he says.
Well, isn't this when High Top gets a new gun?
Yeah, he gets a new gun. Although I realize this scene's actually later, and this is a completely different thing, but that's fine.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, I think I was at a different scene too. Never mind. Keep going.
Okay. So I don't know why have I written down alien on the phone? Oh, that's because it's the dumpster boy. We cut back to the dumpster boy, and and he's like, hey, I'm still alive in here. Can you come get me? Like, can you please come get me? I'm still alive. And they're like, just stay in there. Like, we gotta.
It just cuts to them running up the stairs, and they're just like, you're on your own, bruv. Like,
you're on your own. Like, we got shit to deal with. And then they run into Probs and Mayhem again, and they're like, they've got like a super soaker and like a. What
a toy gun.
Like a gun
it looks like a real gun, but they're like...
Well, okay, it's a real gun. Spoiler, it's not a real gun.
It looks
so
real.
They're like, no, this is big boy stuff. Like, you go home and watch Naruto, which John Boyega says. And considering I know John Boyega watches anime, I am 90% sure that wasn't in the script, and he just said that on set. And they're like, yeah, you know what? That works.
There's mostly references to FIFA, but every now and then,
yes.
Yeah. And then they're like, yeah, because he would have said go home and play FIFA instead. Like,
no,
but he
go
says
home
Naruto.
and watch Naruto.
And they're like, a super soaker ain't gonna do shit against the alien. And they're like, depends what's in it. And I'm like, it would be great if, like, what's in it, like, would actually hurt the alien. I was more thinking, like, some type of, like, chemical concoction that was actually toxic to the alien, but I should have thought more childlike and just go, oh yeah, of course it's gonna be something like petrol.
No, they just put, like, chalky milk in it, and they're weak to chalky milk for some reason.
Chalky
yes.
milk. Yeah. And they're going up, and they go to the girls. Well, as they're going up to the girls, before they call them up, and they're like, hey, we got aliens in there, it's coming, you gotta go around in there. And the girls are just like, I can't fucking understand a word he's saying. Can you not call us back when you're not playing Xbox?
Zoom, got him.
Zoom, zing, got him. And then they go upstairs and they're like, okay, we're here, we're explaining the situation. They're like, everything they can see, it's like, this is a local thing. It's not any bigger than just their one area.
They see that there's a helicopter outside
block.
That's just in place. Yeah. It's not like...
It's, yeah, because, like, they were expecting, like, all the police and, like, the army and everything, because it's, like, all London-wide, but it's just this one block, because he's like, one copper chopper. He's like, they realize that it's only just their block, and they're like, why the fuck would aliens attack a council flat? And then one of them's like, because I'm a hard-ass man, and
they wanted to fight.
They want to die.
Yeah.
They wanted to fight. And it's like, oh god, shut up.
Well, that plays into the toxic masculinity that fuels so many of their characters.
find anything about that line being improvised, but I did find an article about how John Boyega prefers Naruto over most other animes.
Well, there you go.
And
that's what
how
I mean.
it has better diversity than most things he's worked on.
Yeah. No, that was the period after Star Wars where he just like started like talking about whatever he wanted in interviews instead of like Star Wars and Disney, because anytime like someone would force him to talk about Disney, he would just shit talk them. Rightfully so, because they treated him like shit.
It's such a bummer. His character was so cool.
His character was so cool, but then they just
and he's done.
Man, the way they treat him in the.
But we're not talking about
so
Star
depressing.
Wars today.
We ain't talking about no Star Wars. Hey,
Jodie Whittaker talks up and is like, "Hey, can you guys like take this seriously and stop joking? There are actual aliens." And they're like, "Oh, I didn't know you fucked your math teacher." And she's like, "No, actually, I know them. They're my neighbors. Like, they mugged me earlier." And they're like, "Are you fucking serious, dude? Like, seriously? It's always like mugging people and hurting people with people. Like, come on, man." And then
hurting the neighbors
the boys are like, "It's all right. Like, we're all mates now. It's all sweet." And like, looks back at Jodie Whittaker and she's like, "Yeah, sure." And then she goes, what we've got to do is we've got to call the police. And the camera isn't even on her. The camera is on just two of the other characters who are like very was it Glasses and one of the girls who isn't like even part of the situation. So you didn't get it mixed up, because if it was just two of the lads, like them looking directly at her would have just been like, okay, we've been over this, like police isn't one. But it's very clearly like two people of color staring at Jodie Whittaker as she says, "We've got to call the police. They'll fix this."
And they just sort of like look off to the side and they're like, "Uh-huh." And it's just...
Yeah, it's like look off to the side at her as if like, really? It's so great.
A non-verbal dismissal, like, okay, new plan. It's just so to the point.
And then we go, "Oh shit, hang on, what's that?" Camera pans over to the window, and you just see like some black blobs covering, and then you see those white eyes again. You're like, "Oh shit,
the eyes that aren't eyes."
Yeah. The eyes that aren't eyes.
Gamb and I both had the
And then
mental
they made
image
really
of them being the propeller rats from Shovel Knight, just floating outside the window.
I thought their mouths were like blue.
They look more
like
green to
blue
me.
teal.
They look literally the same green as like glow sticks.
It's a phosphorus blue. It's a phosphorus blue.
It might be more bluish.
It's like their teeth are like a hollow black, but with a phosphorus light blue on top of it. That's what it is. That's why it kind of looks green, because there's that blackness underneath.
Yeah.
And you're like, "Oh shit, what are we gonna do?" The aliens burst through, land on the is it Weeb? It's Weeb, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, it's Weeb. They land
who's
on
wearing
Weeb,
his
who's
helmet
wearing a
still
motorcycle helmet.
from earlier.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Fucking help me!" And everyone's like panicking. The second alien goes off into the bedroom with the girls, and they're like, "Oh shit, we gotta fight it." So everyone's like trying to figure out how to fight it. John Boyega raises his katana again to fight, and it goes straight through the drywall
behind him.
And he's like, "Oh no!" The best scene is there's a wide shot of just, you can see the alien like eating Weeb, and then suddenly the motorcycle helmet just goes fucking flying towards the bedroom. Because the neck has finally snapped, and the alien has thrown it, essentially.
Yep. Yeah, you see it like chomping its teeth in through the material of the helmet, and you're like, "Oh, it's got strong jaws, but maybe they can save him." And then
maybe it's still good.
Oh, it looks way more blue in that picture you sent, dear.
Yeah, it's very blue. So one of the girls grabs a lamp, smashes the light, and just zaps one of the aliens to like
with stock electricity, like noises, which I really enjoyed.
Stock electricity. So then John Boyega's like, "Oh god, he's finished with Weeb. He's gonna come for me now. I better pull my katana out." And the alien's about to grab him, and then Jodie Whittaker to the rescue, and she kills the alien. And it's like, oh
shit.
Damn, woof, that
she
was close.
stabs it in the fucking throat.
Stabs it in the fucking
like
throat.
through the head.
And then we cut to the bedroom, where one of the girls has turned into fucking Tonya Harding, because she's got an ice skate and is just slicing the fucking alien with the blade.
Nice.
It's great.
Nice reference.
Yeah, it's a nice reference to a real life event. So then this is when we cut to Hi-Hat.
Mm-hmm.
He's got his new gun. He's outside the flats. He's like, I'm on my way. I'm gonna kill him. I'm gonna kill that John Boyega. He fucked up my car. He got police involved.
He started
like,
this
my
whole
entire
biz. He lost my shit that I gave him to sell and brought all the feds on the block. This is my block, and he's attacking it.
He's my block, and he's attacking it. That's what the movie represents. It's John Boyega attacking Hi-Hat's block.
Yes, that's what it's all about.
Drug dealing.
Oh,
That's what it's all
shit.
about. It's really, in the end, it's all about family.
So, I was gonna say, Barry, how's it go from there?
How's it go from there? Well, I was gonna say I forget when the shot is when you have. I might be after this still, where you have Probs and Mayhem outside, and then they look up at the building.
This is after this.
This is when when he sees them.
Yeah.
Yes, this is when he sees them and he's waving a gun in their face.
Right. Yeah.
And they're like, it's the aliens, and he's like, well, I'm trying to help John Boyega kill the aliens. They're like, oh, well, he's up there. And oof, he's good. So yeah.
So then
that's the end of the movie.
That's it.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So what about from there?
Well, I didn't take notes, so I'm not fully equipped
That's
to
okay.
provide the play-by-play
This is
recap.
College boy is panicking. He's
always
getting a bit
panicking.
too high. Wait, did I even write down? No, I didn't even write down what happens next.
Oh shit!
With
the
alright,
elevator.
so they're in the block. They're running. Yeah, the elevator. I didn't even write any of that down. Oh wait, no, I did write it down. That's right. Alright, so Hi-Hat's on his way, and they're like, "Oh shit, it's Hi-Hat. He's got a gun. He's gonna kill John Boyega." And they're like, "Oh shit, here's an alien. Let's fucking run away instead." And Hi-Hat's is just like, easy prey. He goes to shoot it, misses every single fucking shot, and then it chases after him. He's like, "Get in the elevator!" And him and his boys get in the elevator, and then the alien jumps in just before it shuts, and it's
And Gamb, you were waiting for the shot of the door opening and then like blood just pooling out, and we didn't get that shot, but it was kind of simple.
Yeah.
Instead, we get the old boy shot.
Yes,
where
the
it
reveal.
opens and it's like, man, he's so badass.
Also, as someone who loves this movie, I just expect you to know it scene for scene for scene. Absolutely.
Well, I saw it once 9 years ago, and then just watched it, and I didn't take notes.
Barry,
So I don't.
how dare you not spend your entire time watching movies?
Sorry.
How dare you?
I'm sorry. I failed you both.
So we cut to college boy panicking. He's back at the block, and he's like hitting the elevator button because he's gonna come back up. And then that's when we see.
You have a nice shot of the elevator door opening and
elevator
him
open.
freaking out, but then, oh wait, Hi-Hat is alive.
Oh wait. Oh,
But the other two
shit.
dudes died, so we never learned their names.
Yep. Oh well.
They were Gun
And then this
Gun
is-
Uber.
Gunduber.
Gunter.
Gabooba. Gabooba. Sorry. Hi-Hats. What? I don't remember what Hi-Hats does.
Well,
for him.
he walks on the elevator. He's
go
like,
away?
"Better catch the next one."
Yeah.
Get it? Because that was a reincorporation of what happens earlier in the movie, where College Boy wanted to catch the next one because it was filled with hoodlums. So this time it's filled with dead hoodlums.
Yeah. Oh, also, after they killed the two monsters in the room with the girls where they're hanging out in there, there's an awesome shot of one of the dead monsters' fangs just slowly dimming and like turning off, which I love that shot. It's just like, oh,
So
their
nice.
teeth only glow while they're alive. That's good. But yes.
That's good.
Anyway,
Then we cut to Bin Boy, Dumpster Boy, who's still stuck, and I can't remember if this is where. I'm pretty sure this is where. Oh wait, no, that's not it. That's later. I'm trying to find the notes where I've written it, and it's only one fucking line because I don't know what to write other than one line for things.
You're good. You don't take notes in the same way I do.
We basically just get a reminder that Bin Boy's still stuck and nothing's
There's a
happening.
couple-
He tries to escape, but there's an alien.
every time you forget about him, the movie reminds you like he's still there and he's still having a bad time, and he's running
still
out of
there.
credits,
Yeah.
running out of minutes.
Remember that time
Yeah.
where you didn't have a mobile plan and you had credits instead? Ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. So then College Boy is panicking, and we're outside the flats, and we see Probs and Mayhem, I believe. I forget who points at the building, and we see, like, aliens just climbing
Like dozens
up
of them.
the side of the building. Like, dozens of them. It's, like, really cool.
It's a good shot.
It's a good shot. And then, so we cut back to all of the lads at Nick Frost's door, and they're like, knock, knock, let us in, Nick Frost. And he's like, oh, I don't know. And then the camera
What does he
pans back, and
say?
there's a gun to his back.
Because he cracks open the door, and he's just like, hello. Like, he just has, like, a single word that he says, and I was just like...
I know he says sorry.
Once they're inside
like-
and they see hi-hat. But I don't remember exactly what he says. But he's just like, hey lads. Like, it's just,
Hey, lads. Yeah, it's such a mundane line, like, hey lads, how you doing? So they get let in, and oh shit, Hi-Hats is there. No, he beat the lads to the place.
And he's got a gun on Moses.
He's gonna shoot Bon Jovi.
Yeah.
He's gonna shoot
John Bon Jovi, no.
John Bon Jovi, no! I mean, he's also involved in Star Wars. Yeah. Fun fact, John Bon Jovi, the first ever recordings of him singing is on a Star Wars Christmas album.
Okay, we'll get to that later.
Singing what...
We'll
Yeah,
talk
we'll get
about
to
that another time.
So, when we watch the Star Wars...
Oh my
holiday
god,
special
can
for
we?
the-
That's Christmas time. Life Day. Anyway.
You know
Life
what?
Mhm.
You know what? If you start your own podcast where you make us watch whatever you want,
I'm going to
sure.
start a podcast where I make the two of you watch the Star Wars Holiday Special once a month. Ad infinitum forever.
Okay.
And we do a
You know what?
post-mortem podcast
To be
every
fair,
time.
the extended universe of the podcast thing is blank makes blank watch blank. So yeah, that could be your podcast if you want.
I love that we've gone on a tangent in an incredibly tense scene.
Our
Just
main
like,
character is
oh
at
no, Hi-Hats-
gunpoint. We're talking about
Yeah,
making...
he's at gunpoint. And we're talking about making new podcast.
Anyway, so he's at gunpoint.
So he's held at gunpoint, and then everyone's like, yo, you gotta, there's, watch behind you, and Hi-Hat's like, I'm not falling for that, and then we see behind him, and there's like 10 or 20 aliens just at the window, ready to go, and they burst through, and John Boyega and the lads are like, fuck this shit, and they run away, and Hi-Hats turns around and is like, what's this? And then he gets swamped by all the aliens. It's
And then you have
great.
one of the best shots of the movie, which is...
Yeah.
One of, not the best. The best is still
I
coming
said
up.
one of.
Oh yeah,
One of the best.
absolutely.
You have Hi-Hat, which... When that shot first starts, it's like, huh, it's weird that they're, like, leaving him alone. Like, he's knocked to his back, and you just have this clear window looking down on Hi-Hat's face as he's, like, looking around, swarmed by creatures. And then one of them reaches over and just grabs his face off. And you just, it's like,
Yep.
it's so over the top. It's like a fucking
I just
Scooby-Doo
realized
episode.
we accidentally skipped the best scene.
Oh, did we?
What?
Yeah, it's just before they get to Nick Frost's place, because they're going through a hallway and there's two aliens at the end, so they shoot fireworks at it to distract
yeah,
it.
Right,
and
that was just
glasses.
They have
yeah,
the fireworks off, and then we get the best fucking death in the movie.
yeah.
Glasses gets abandoned by College Boy, and he's like, "Oh no, I'm lost!" And he turns around, and there's an alien, and we cut away to leg injury, who's like running around.
I gotta get
and
him.
he suddenly something grabs his leg. He looks down, and it's Glasses, and you see the alien coming up behind him. He can't see, so he's like grabbing at anything. He sees the leg, grabs it. The camera for it's 1 or 2 seconds just goes down as Glasses says, "Help me," and then suddenly it cuts back to leg injury. Well, it cuts to where his leg is, because you see the alien chomp down on Glasses' head. And just before he actually makes impact, it cuts away because you see the explosion of blood that occurs instead.
Yeah.
And it's great!
He pops open like a cherry. But it's like, you
Yeah.
don't see exactly what happens. There's no ambiguity, but it's just like the perfectly timed cuts of just like,
Yeah,
oh no!
it's some
Oh no!
Kuleshov would be proud.
Yeah, exactly. Very cool Ashab effect.
He'd be a
Very
proud
cool.
boy. Very, very,
Very cool
Very
Ashab.
cool. A
Yeah.
shove.
The Kuleshov effect is when two cuts are presented in sequence so as to provide meaning between the two.
I love that you went in like a did you know?
In case you
cadence.
let me explain the joke, or at least the reference.
Go ahead.
That was it. It was the cool shot.
That was it. We explained the reference, the cooler shove effect.
It's very cool.
Yeah.
A shove.
Oh.
So yeah,
You have like two
cutting
back-to-back
in
brutal
time,
deaths. It's
and they're so good.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's raising the stakes of the movie.
Also, we were
getting to, like,
nitpicking that when they fire the firework down the hallway at the two monsters, it fires perfectly straight, and we were like, it should have
plus also
spiraled around. And
Gamb's like the
It
only one that
creates-
complained about it.
Well,
I'm with
here's the
Gam on
thing. It wasn't a complaint. It was just like a weird notice of like,
It would have felt
it was like
more.
a really, really tiny.
It
nitpick.
feels too planned and professional for like, hey, we're a bunch of kids with a firework. Here it is firing perfectly straight. If it like kind of spiraled around and bounced off the walls and ceiling and then like blew up down the hall, I'd be like, okay, these are kids who are winging it.
So I would agree if it was a bottle rocket. It was not.
It was a firework.
Well, the thing is, also,
It was like a large grade firework.
Yeah.
That's why.
The
But
thing
they're not
is-
designed to fly horizontally.
The thing that I'm getting
Fair.
at is like they're kids who aren't like trained for battle, so that kid should have been fucking shaking while he was
Okay,
doing
yeah,
that.
fair. That I.
And there's several moments where they're like struggling to light fireworks and like yelling at each other.
Plus, also that scene with the firework mist, it creates way too
Also,
much
even
mist.
to
Like,
take a step
Yeah.
even earlier, they ride the elevator up, open the doors, see the two monsters, and then just like stay in the elevator and the doors close, and it's really good.
Yeah.
they shut
Yeah,
the
and they're just like close elevator
They're
door
like,
button.
"Alright, hold
just
on
like,
a second."
okay, what's our plan? Like, it's really good. It's like that's not gonna stop them, and they know it, but it's just like we just want that thin veneer of protection, please. Okay, moving on.
Yeah, as long as we can pretend
Yeah.
we're fine. So then, cut back forward. Hi-Hats is dead. They're all trapped in the weed room. And they're like, oh, okay. We gotta figure out what's going on. What are we gonna do? Maybe we can, like figure out what's going on. And then suddenly... College Boy speaks up, and he's like, what's this all over you, John Boyega? And John Boyega's like, what are you talking about? And then we see some sort of phosphorance all over him, due to the ultraviolet light that isn't really ultraviolet.
It's just
I
a
don't-
black light.
It's just a black light, even though it doesn't look like a black light.
Do you know how hard it is to actually film a black light?
Fair.
Which
That's fair.
they also
actually, yeah,
do
that's
an
fair.
interesting job setting up this one scene, like at the beginning of the scene, because it's this. I think the scene starts with a shot of the first monster they killed, which obviously, like by now,
Yes.
it's like very clear this monster is different. It's smaller. It's got very pale fur. These are like giant, all black Vanta black monsters. So there's something
Yes.
different there. But there's a shot of it where it's just like kind of goopy and like covered in glowing fluid, and it's like, did it look like that before? And you're like, what's up?
The black lights were not on.
Exactly, but now it's like the black lights are on. You can see it, that it's like weird and glowy
Yeah.
and very alien looking.
Because the assumption is they turned the black lights on when they left after Top Hats and the other guy left to go do whatever, get in his car, go get in that accident. Because everybody was there, he got the drugs, and then they left. While Top Hats and his friend were literally just packing
Yeah.
drugs.
Yeah,
So I
hats,
assume
not top
since
hats,
they,
but I like calling them top hats.
yeah. So
Top hats.
So Hats pretty much like probably turned the black lights on, because working in a room with black lights is fucking horrible. Like, I've had black lights for my plants. There's a type of purple red light that works really well for plants. Staring at it fucks up your eyes. So
Yeah. So anyway, this is when College Boy is like, oh wait, hang on. Remember how we were talking about pheromones earlier?
Watched that moth
Like,
documentary.
Maybe
Those
the
moth?
aliens. Yeah, we watched that moth documentary. Like,
I like
maybe
moths.
the aliens give off pheromones, and that's what's attracting you to them. And so they're like, okay, that actually makes a lot of sense. And this is one thing I fucking love about the monster movie. It doesn't fall down that trap of like, maybe the pheromones are attracting to it because this is the kid, and they're just trying to get the kid back, and like maybe we should just give it to it. Like, it doesn't go
Well,
down
it's already
the route
dead,
of like,
first of all.
yeah.
well, yeah, but it's like they're trying to get the corpse or something. But it's like they're not going down the path of like the resolution is to do with the aliens. Like, they don't solve.
We have
the
to
problem
reason with them
by,
and
like,
understand.
reason with them or giving them what they want. They immediately just go, okay, they're tracking the pheromones. It doesn't fucking matter why. It doesn't fucking matter how. It doesn't fucking matter why these aliens are different to this first one. None of that matters. All we need to know and care about is that first alien they killed is giving off some sort of pheromones that the other aliens are tracking, and they're going to use that to kill the rest of them. And
Yeah.
and
And
great,
the
'cause
reason
they could have easily fallen down the path.
And the reason that the monsters were ignoring the girls and not just going all over London and they're focused on the block is because of those pheromones that all the lads have on them now. And because at this point Moses has a lot of guilt and he's watched the number of his friends die. He's like, no one else is getting hurt, so like I'm gonna settle this and I'm gonna lure them away.
Well, the thing is also, they make a point earlier in the movie, which is another one of those we live in a society type moments of the subtle messaging, where before they even know about this, when the scene where they see the girls, they explain what happened and the fact that one of them has already been bitten and like people are already dead. The girls blame John Boyega for all the deaths. They're like, this is all your fault. Like, if you just did get involved, like, none of this would have happened. You had to go out. Like, everything is your fault. And it's like...
Because also, isn't that the scene
of...
where he's like, maybe the feds engineered these monsters, and first they gave us drugs, then they gave us guns, and now they've brought us these monsters.
That's where it gets a little bit...
It's very on the nose.
That's where it gets a little bit on the nose, because he's like, maybe it's the feds breeding these to hunt down black boys. And it's like, that's a little bit on the nose, but also like... I feel like for certain people you need that type of...
And also this character, that's the headspace that he's in.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's on the nose, but I'm not saying that as a bad thing. I'm saying, like, A, that makes sense for the character, and B, I feel like there's some people that you might need to have that on-the-nose scene for as well.
Very much so.
The problem for me would be if they then extended that to the entire movie. Like, if, like... say the end of the movie they like outright state what's going on, sort of like they make it very poignant and like on the nose even more like what that ending means.
Yeah, now that we've defeated the monster threat, now we have the tools to reconstruct society in a way that'll better benefit the disenfranchised. Yeah,
we've all been equalized by this alien, so together, now that we're equals, we can like they don't go down that road because that would be fucking awful.
No, it's much more small scale and personalized.
But yeah, I'll talk more about the ending when we get to it, because it leads into the ending. But, so yeah, we got pheromones, we got a plan. Everyone's stripped of pheromones, and like, Jodie Whittaker is gonna run first back to John Boyega's place first to like, set up the plan. And she's like, okay, I can do this. And she's like, walking out slowly and is... doing a best
she leaves the weed room and the outside room where Hi-Hats was killed is just swarming with monsters, and she's like perfectly silent, trying to sneak out.
And as she's like scouting the area, you just sort of pan over and you see one of the doors nearby open a crack, and Nick Frost appears and is just like, "Is it safe out there?" And she's not moving and just goes...
She just shakes her head. I don't think she even says anything. She's like...
Yes.
Yeah. No, she doesn't. She just shakes her head and he's like, oh, good luck. And shuts the door.
So good. It's so good.
It's so
I don't know
good.
how you could hate Nick Frost. He is such a delight.
You can't.
I don't know how
you
it
can't.
It's impossible.
You can't.
That's like one of my favorite parts of the movie is her just no.
Just, yeah. It's so
And that's also why, like, you have
these,
like, really brutal, violent scenes. You have this undercurrent of what the movie's trying to say, and then you have these little dollops of, like, comedic relief that don't feel too jarring. Like, it's part of why I love this movie. It strikes a very delicate tone balance, and I think it nails it for the most part.
Yeah. Honestly, that little scene is the perfect little counterbalance to the tension that's going on. It doesn't, like, stop the tension. It doesn't it's not like the door opened and he started like a whole weird comedy
and he's
scene
like ripping
like
a bong
and like completely halted the
and he's
movie.
like, hey, what's up? Just making a ruckus.
It's simple
there's literally a point where they're like, hey, there's aliens out there. It's like, dude, I know.
When they're both
dude,
really
is there
high.
gonna be a problem? No, I think if a bunch of kids could kill it, we'd be good. All right,
A bunch of
you
kids
want some
kicking
more
it to
weed?
death, we're fine.
You want some more weed?
Yeah. And then college boy being like, I'm too high for this.
Yeah. Oh my god, that poor boy.
Everyone in...
Fuck the boy. Poor Jodie Whittaker.
Yeah.
Poor all of them.
Everyone in the movie's a victim of their circumstance one way or another. Whoa. Especially the monsters.
We live in a society?
We live in a... Yeah.
That's a thing to say, especially considering... we'll get to that when we get to the scene with the Union Jack.
Anyway, society.
So, Wow. So Jodie Whittaker gets past the alien, sort of tiptoeing past them because she's terrified, even though they don't see her because she's got no pheromones on her. They don't care about her. So she goes out and she goes to John Boyega's place and she's like noticing things and is like, you don't, who do you live with? Like, you don't live alone. Like, what's going on here? Like, how old are you? Because he's got like a bed for a very young child, and he's like, I'm 15. Yeah. It's like, okay,
so
John Boyega.
It's not even that it's a small child bed. It's that he has a Spider-Man comforter, and like still has like toys around his room and stuff. And she's like, well, yeah. Wait, like you live with your uncle? And he's like, yeah, but he's not here like most of the time.
Well, it's the way he says it is. She's like, who do you live with? And he's like, my uncle. And she's like, is he out? And he's like, he comes and goes, mostly goes. It's like, he mainly lives alone. And it's like, the thing that I'm getting at with, like, the child's bed is, like, yeah, it's the Spider-Man, like, comforter that's on it, but it's like, the room that he's in hasn't aged as he has. Like,
yes.
He is very neglected.
Yes.
Incredibly neglected. Not just by society, but by his family as well.
And also then she says, you look older, and he says, thanks. Because, like, it's a point of pride of him to appear older than he is.
Yeah, whereas, like, anyone who's a trauma victim can tell you, like, the idea of, like, oh, you appear older or you're a lot more mature for your age is, like, that's not a good thing.
That's trauma 101.
That's a sign of trauma, which John Boyega very clearly does have in the movie.
Moses. So it's not John Boyega. Like, it's Moses, the character.
Listen, it's so much better to call him John Boyega.
Fine.
Listen, and then he parts the sea with the Beyblade.
Yeah, he does.
Okay.
The only time, I mean, that's canon, but the only time I'm ever going to call him Moses is the final scene of the movie.
Sure, okay. So John Boyega. Sorry, Jodie Whittaker at this point.
So Jodie Whittaker, don't mix them up.
They're the same character in the movie, come on. I'm sorry.
Oh my god.
I mean, they're polar opposites for a reason. You're meant to see that contrast, Barry, for fuck's sake. We live in a society.
We do live in a society.
So Jodie Whittaker turns up the gas and everything, because that's what John Boyega told her to do. And she's like, okay, we're going to lure them all to what you very clearly are getting. Like, they're telling the plan, but not entirely. Like, okay, step 1, you do this. Step 2,
bongos start playing.
Like, as it's happening.
The heist.
Yeah. So it's as it's going. So like as she's turning up the gas, you hear like them in the past talking on the plane, going like, "You'll turn up."
She's
all
on the
gas.
phone with
like,
him,
okay.
So I don't think it's a flashback.
Well, yeah,
he's just telling her what to do.
Sort of, for some reason, remembered it as a flashback. I don't know why I did.
It's just kind of cutting between the two of them.
Conventional way to go for it. Yeah, that's probably why. So and then we cut to John Boyega being like, "Okay, okay, I can do this. I can do this," and he fucking goes.
He has a new backpack. He's got Baby Yoda on his back.
Yeah. But I realized just before this, we have one more thing we have to announce before this happened. We cut back to Dumpster Boy one final time. And he's in there, and Probs and Mayhem see him in the dumpster, and they're like, oh shit, there's an alien there.
Yeah,
like,
just as he's running out of minutes on his phone, and he's saying his final goodbyes, and he's like, I'm gonna have to make a run for it.
Yeah, and they're like, "Oh, no one's ever gonna take us seriously if we keep acting like pussies." And so they shoot the Super Soaker at the alien, and you cut to Dumpster Boy's perspective. I love that they don't show entirely the scene, like, because it kind of would have looked a little dumb. Like, you see the initial bit where, like, halfway through their Super Soakering, like, the alien's, like, very clearly disturbed or, like, distracted by it, and we cut back to Dumpster Boy being like, what the fuck's going on? He peeks out, and then you see a match land on the ground and light the fucker on fire. Yep. And Probs and Mayhem are like, yeah, we did it. And Dumpster Boy's like, cool, it's safe, I can come out now. And then Probs and Mayhem run down an alleyway to go see the kid. And they're like, cool, we did it. And then suddenly smoke clears and there's feds and they point their guns at them and are like, put the weapon down, like, fucking, we're horrible system.
We live in a society.
We live in a society. And then the kids run, and they join Dumpster Boy in the dumpster.
You just have a shot from inside the dumpster of the two of them dropping inside, which is so good. It's not really a full dumpster, it's like a trash bin.
It's their bag. Yeah, it's like you see it open a crack, you see a bag drop in, a second bag, and then both of them jump in.
Good.
And he's like, but you got rid of the alien, and they're like, feds are out there, and he's like, yeah, that's right, lads, let's stay.
And then he's like, mayhem and probs, right? And they're like, yeah.
Yeah, and we get the conclusion.
Their
of
arc
their
is concluded.
They're respected now.
Mm-hmm.
They all live in a trash
They
bin
can
now.
die. We live in a trash.
A trash society.
So we cut back to John Boyega, and he's like, okay, we can do this. I just realized we forgot to talk about John Boyega's ending of his arc as well. Because just before Jodie Whittaker runs out, he gives her back...
Because we were joking the entire movie about how, like, these characters can't die until their arc is completed. So, like, Glasses can't die until he learns to see without his glasses or something. And,
Which he did, because he grabbed the leg.
And John Boyega, or it was Jodie Whittaker's arc, because she was afraid and she got mugged. Gamb was saying that she needs to get mugged and be okay with it, or there needs to be an anti-mug where she mugs John Boyega.
Yeah, anti-mug.
Yes.
And then that's what happens at the end.
Kind of.
Because John Boyega gives her back all the stuff that they stole from her.
Including the ring.
Like John Boyega has grown, including the ring. The John Boyega has grown as a character, and Jodie Whittaker has grown as a character as well.
There's also a really fun bit where he asks leg bite for the ring, and he's like, what ring? What are you talking about? It's just like, okay, fine. Like, that's ours.
It's like, don't be a little bitch.
Yeah. So anyway, back to John Boyega, like we were saying. He's running out, and he's getting all the aliens'
Well, you
attention.
have this like, old boy meets 300 montage of slow-mo of him running with all these jaws snapping at his ankles.
The literal entrance from him, where it's him going from this blue and purple room, and then you have the two fireworks shoot off that they use as a distraction that are reds and yellows that then relight the scene as red and yellow, making it more action-filled, basically, because
warm tones.
Purple and blue and cool colors tend to be, like, calmer and sometimes unsettling, but never, like, very action-y, so to speak. Whereas red and yellow absolutely is. So it's just this lovely swap from one color palette to the next.
I like movies.
I like movies too.
Yeah.
So he's like jumping all over them and getting their attention. He's like, I'm gonna fucking kill them all! Yeehaw!
Come on, Baby Yoda.
Come on, Baby Yoda, you're on my back. And he's like, okay, I'm back at my apartment, and I've got the firework, and I'm desperately, oh god, trying to light the firework. While the aliens are running in, and oh god, they're gonna get him, they're gonna get him, they're gonna get him, Barry.
Oh no.
He lights the firework. He sets it off. Fucking explosion. He jumps out the window. And it just cut to everyone outside the block's reaction of the explosion. It's like, oh god, whoa, what the fuck was that? And then we cut to probably the most, like, blatant scene of imagery of John Boyega clinging to the Union Jack as he's desperately, like, falling across. It's like, he's clinging hard to that Union Jack. And I don't want to talk about the symbolism of it because I feel like it's obvious enough.
We should probably just get into it a little bit because, like you said earlier, some people need to be obviously spoken to.
We'll get to the end and then I'll talk more about it because the ending is really
that
where,
we can
where
do.
it, like,
That's like a college dissertation waiting to happen. I think a brief overview later will probably be sufficient.
Yeah.
Brief overview.
TLDR of
cite your sources.
Late 20th century in England.
A good enough summary of neoliberalism's effect on systemic racism in the UK.
Yes. Here's my Twitter thread about it.
When's that video coming out? Yes. So, basically, John Boyega's safe. He lands on the balcony beneath him. It's like, cool, he's safe. The day's over. All the aliens are dead. We did it. The boys are... The boys are good. Lads. Then we cut to the feds.
Oh, fuck.
The feds are pulling the boys out of the block and they're all getting arrested. Every single one of them. Especially Nick Frost, especially College Boy.
But not Jodie Whittaker.
Actually, I can't remember if College Boy.
She's basically got like the blanket and the hot cocoa. Like you've been through a rough
so
night.
do Mayhem and Probs.
Yes,
So do Mayhem and Probs. There you
because they are young enough to weasel their way out so far. Because they're like...
Yeah.
They're like, well, we're children.
Yeah, so we cut to the fact that, hey, it's like, we have victory music playing, and it's like, all of our heroes are being arrested, and that's when you get that stark contrast and remembrance of, like, oh yeah, they're, like, the scum hoodlums that, like, mugged Jodie Whittaker in the beginning of the movie. Like, just because this happened doesn't change, like, how the system sees them.
Yep.
And then we get John Boyega put in the back of a truck
With leg bite.
With leg bite. Yeah, it was leg bite. I was like, I can't remember who exactly it was.
There aren't
It's
that many
leg bite,
left
and
at
then
this
you
point.
suddenly hear everyone be like...
Well, I mean, all the
you
ones
suddenly-
that died were pheromone touched, basically, at some point.
Yeah, well, I think
They
they all were
did make a
pheromone.
point to that.
They all were.
Nope.
Yeah, that was
Nope.
the point. Yeah.
No, they were not. I promise you they
Who
were
wasn't?
not. They make a whole point. They make a whole point saying that the cops, when they threw them in the van, touched him. And so that's why they smelled like it. The kid that went to go save them, Katana, also touched him, which is why he got the pheromones on him. Stuff like that. Like, they make a point to say, like, not everybody would be killed, just the people with pheromones on them.
But of the lads,
what we're saying
all
is
of them had...
all of the lads, all
No.
the 5 lads had it on
I
it.
promise you they didn't. Like,
But Dumpster Kid did.
Dumpster Kid might have. I don't believe...
Well, then why would the alien be outside the dumpster if he didn't?
That's what I'm saying. I don't believe Leg Bite did, is what I'm getting at here.
I'm pretty sure it was
Anyway.
just... I mean, it wasn't like, hey, let's go over everyone with a black light, but like all of the lads went into that shack to beat up the first alien, and they were all grabbing it and throwing it around and stuff.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
Mayhem
never
and
mind.
Probs were fine,
The-
the girls were fine, but people outside
Everyone
that
else,
group,
though, you're
they were
completely
fine
right.
until they came
Yeah.
in contact with typically
That's
Moses. but,
why.
yeah.
That's why John Boyega is like when we get the pheromones, we get the second scene of John Boyega being like, "It's actually all my it is actually all my fault
Yes.
now, not just like you can point the finger at me because I'm the easy one to point the finger at, but it's like it is actually my fault because everyone who has touched me has gotten those pheromones and has died."
And he's the original
Yes.
one
Which
who
is
was
why
like,
he-
"I'm gonna stick my head in the car and fuck this thing up and chase it down and beat
Yeah.
up," because he got scratched in the face and probably got pheromones on him then, but it wasn't everyone else until they went in and fucked it up in the first place. But
Anyway.
Yeah,
sorry.
so
Yeah,
they're
our
in the back
heroes
of the,
are all
back of
arrested
the paddy
now.
wagon. Heroes are all arrested, not because of the aliens, mainly just because they're hoodlums and because of the mugging, but also mainly just because they're hoodlums. And we hear everyone sort of be like, "Hey, wait, no, let him free. He's the protagonist. Let him out. Like he shouldn't be arrested." And we hear everyone sort of be like, "Hey, Moses, 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 Moses."
John Boyega, John
Everyone chanting,
Boyega.
John Boyega, John Boyega, John
Yeah.
Boyega. So, and the good thing is that you hear Leg Bite be like, "Hey, dude, listen to that," and John Boyega gets a little bit happy because it's like, "Hey, you know what? Maybe I'm not so bad. The system might say that I'm terrible, but hey, maybe there actually is a future for me. Like maybe I can actually, like people actually believe in me."
It's a very
I'm
earnest
not
smile.
completely alone.
It's like the only time he smiles in the
Yeah.
movie. Well, he probably
And if
smiles,
this
but-
was a if this was a terrible movie, this is where the movie would have gone, okay, the police let him out of the van and like, you know what, you're off scot-free today,
yeah, because
boy.
they go over
You
to
did
Jodie
good."
Whittaker and they're like, "Oh, is he the boy who mugged you? Like, do you recognize them?" And she's like, "Of course I recognize them. They're my neighbors."
Well, it's not just that, because they make a point of, it's not just the mugging, they go, the 2 police officers, like, they make a point of, like, talking about the 2 police officers that died.
Right.
Yeah.
They're like, are they the boys? Like, very clearly sort of leading her to say, yeah,
Yeah.
those boys were with me, they were the ones who killed the police officers. When she's like, no, I know them, they're my neighbors, like, they
protected
saved
me. Yeah.
They protected me. And, like, it's very, like, it's where you get sort of the contrast that the whole movie's kind of the point of, where it's like, Jodie Whittaker doesn't have any problems with this system, and, like, she constantly wants to rely on this system because it protects her, whereas you have the people like John Boyega, who live and have been born and will die in this low-income sort of situation where society hates them and takes everything away from them, vilifies them completely, and no matter how good they do, the system will still put them down because, hey, they're meant to be put down. They're hoodlums. Like, of course they were the ones who did this. Like, who else would do this sort of thing? Not Jodie Whittaker. She's a good, productive member of society.
Wait, are you saying that when he was hanging on to that Union Jack, that meant something?
Okay, so...
No, let's get into it. Come on.
I keep joking about it, but I don't really want to talk about it because I don't know the in-depth details of it.
No, but
none
you
of
do.
us are British.
I'm just gonna
so
say the just gonna say the TLDR of it.
Brief ideas.
Yeah.
So every country, especially the UK, has a long history of problems with racism, especially systemic racism, and a lot of ill will towards the poor, etc. But especially in the 80s, with the height of Margaret Thatcher and her austerity measures, essentially the poor got extremely poorer, more victimized, and not as blatant as the US was, with Nixon and Reagan being all, hey, if we associate these drugs with these ethnic groups, we can get rid of these ethnic groups. But more along the lines of, fuck the poor. If they can't live for themselves in our system, then they don't belong in our system. And the reason that they're non-productive hoodlums and terrible members of society is because they don't want to pick themselves up by their bootstraps and they don't want to put in the hard work to become a productive member of society. When the truth is, that's not how things work, and it's hard to pull yourself up by your bootstraps when society takes away your bootstraps and then says you stole that boot from someone else when you didn't. So it's...
That's one way to put it.
The reason why the movie's good is because it has this constant through line throughout it of trying to humanize these types of characters in these low economic situations where they are clinging onto society, and I use that word quite literally, because there is the scene where John Boyega is clinging on to the fucking Union Jack.
It's his only lifeline.
Okay, I get
that's
it.
Keeping him from plummeting off of the block.
Yeah. The only lifeline is the thing that's, to be honest, pushing him over the edge.
Put him in that place in the first place. Yeah.
Put him in that place to begin with, aren't letting him leave that place, but it's the only thing he can cling to life with.
Yeah.
And so it's the reason why the ending is so good is because you don't get that happy fairy tale ending, because the movie isn't about happiness and fairy tales. It's about the brutalness of being a person of color, especially in these low economic situations where no matter how good you do, no matter if you're the victor or the protagonist of the story, the system doesn't care. The system already has
They've
labeled
made up their
you
minds,
and
you're being
you.
thrown into the back of the paddy wagon while the crowd cheers your name.
They will... Yeah, and they will rewrite the story to make you the bad guy because they've already determined that you are the bad guy. So they're like, that's why the scene where the cop's talking to Jodie Whittaker is so great, because they're not going like, what happened? They're sort of, they already
it's like,
think
that's
in their
them,
minds,
right?
okay, that's them, they stole the truck, they killed the police officers, we just need to like fill in all the checkboxes to make sure we don't get like, you know,
we want to minimize the paperwork
ourselves.
on our end. Like, let's just wrap this up.
Yeah. And it's honestly, I think, why I like this movie a lot more than just the fact that it's a good horror monster movie, is that it does have this good through line in a non-preachy way.
Yes.
It's not preachy like, sorry to be like this, but like a lot of American Oscar bait movies are.
Don't apologize.
Where,
you're not... It's like, those movies, I think, tend to be more about we're putting a spotlight on this issue than like we're just trying to make a good movie that also says something. Well, it's a little bit of a different...
The thing is, well, you get a lot of American movies, when they want to make movies about racism, when it's always from a white person's point of view, they don't want to make a movie about racism with the reality of racism, or about systemic racism. It's always about, it's only a few bad apples, like... The biggest example I can think of are things like The Blind Side, which is entirely a white savior narrative about the good white family helping out the poor black boy, and actually everyone else is racist. It's not the system itself that's racist, it's just everyone else is racist.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's racism made palatable for white people to not feel bad about the fact that they benefit from such a racist system. Whereas, like, this one's good because it doesn't have... It's palatable to a white audience still, that still gets the message across of, like, hey, systemic racism is a thing, and perhaps you might want to, like, think about it a little bit without sort of hitting those white fragility nerves that would cause some people to be like, this movie just hates white people. Which
well, I think in 2011, I don't think it would have been as big of a nerve to hit, as big as current day, where every single person is on either one side or the other. It's either it's very polarizing more than it was
just say,
then.
if you release this movie as it is today, there would be reactionaries talking about it, saying that it's anti-white, even though it's...
absolutely.
The world's a terrible place. Society is awful. We live in a society, even though Margaret Thatcher says that there is no such thing as society, because she believes that people should not be helped by government.
Hey! You want to hear some facts?
Ding Dong, the Witch is Dead went to number 1 when Margaret Thatcher died.
Bing.
Sure. So... No. Stop. We watched a few movies that have been from the same creative team, basically.
John Boyega worked on The Host?
Weta Workshop?
Weta Workshop worked on the last few movies that we've been watching. This one, however, was Spectral Motion.
I was going to say, if this was also Weta, that would have blown my mind.
No.
I was going to say, if it is, then can we next watch the Hobbit movies? Because they're horror movies.
Yeah, sure. Do you know anything else that Spectral Motion may have worked on?
Nope.
What about Hellboy?
What about Hellboy?
Which one?
All of them.
Oh.
Neat.
They literally worked on the prosthetics and the animatronics for Hellboy.
Nice.
So that was a thing. Joe, the director, his approach to these aliens were that they were from another planet or even another dimension. And so the idea is that they should completely absorb all the light from around them.
I mean, they got that right.
Fucking nailed it.
I honestly, the fact that I like that they took the messaging of the monster movie where it's like the monster isn't the point of the movie to its literal extreme of being like you can't see the monster completely, and like the design is so intentionally hidden and you only see the parts of the monster that actually matter.
It manages to strike an amazing balance like the first Alien movie, where it's kind of something we talked about with The Host a bit, where like relatively early in The Host they're like, that's what the monster looks like, here it is charging on the boardwalk or whatever. Early on in this movie, you just are like, that's what the monster looks like, but the design of it is inherently mysterious. So even though you get to stare straight at it, you're like, I don't know what this is, which they do in the Alien movie a lot.
Yeah.
It's not only just inherently mysterious, but it's also inherently sort of obvious to sort of like the point of the monster is like there's no like tendrils or anything or other
it doesn't transform.
The monster. It's like
there's no extra layer to it that you're like, oh, that's a twist. It's like that is what it is.
Yeah.
You don't know what the monster completely looks like, but then looking at the design of it, you can see there is only one part of that monster that you need to know about, and it's its teeth. That's all you need to know about.
And that's very obvious.
The rest of it doesn't really matter.
I did send you guys some concepting from the studio that I found. But speaking of... Yes. Speaking of having not been able to see what the monsters is, the actors who play Probs and Mayhem, to make their reactions to the monsters more realistic, Joe Cornish made sure they didn't see the aliens until their first scenes with their characters. Unfortunately, they burst out laughing, and Cornish had to settle for fake expressions of awe that you see in the scenes.
I was going to say, so it's like the chestburster scene in Alien, because they didn't know what was going to happen when they
really?
filmed that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, they actually didn't. So the reactions that you see were like they're like
oh,
screaming
God.
and when the alien comes out of John Hurt, that's legitimate. They did not know what was going to happen in that
dope.
scene.
Yeah.
It's
And
great.
that sucks for the makers of this movie. They're like, okay, and we're rolling.
it sucks for
Here's
the
the
makers
big
of this
reveal of the
movie.
monsters, and the kids are laughing. Okay, that's not a good sign for our entire movie.
Yeah. Joe Cornish interviewed the various kids in the youth groups in order to find out what weapons they would use if an alien invasion occurred. So
That's a good way of doing it.
He took their opinions on what they would use, and
It
went
didn't
from there.
feel. There's a lot of things about this movie that feel very grounded, and that's one of them. It's not like everyone has their own signature weapon that's like very specialized to them. It's not like, oh, this is not just like a bat. It's like, this is the bat that, you know, I got to go to the baseball
hit the home
game
run
and
with.
the
Yeah.
athlete signed it and like it means a lot to me and like give all this meaning. It's like, no, he just grabs
and
it.
you get,
Like,
like-
it doesn't matter.
Yeah, because if they did that, you know, you would have gotten the scene where it's like, I hit the home. I've never been able to hit a home run with this one.
It just
but,
becomes
and then you get that payoff in the movie where he hits an alien with it, and it's like, oh man,
home
that's
run.
great.
I mean, it becomes about something
Home
else,
run.
and it's just like, no, the scene of them getting weapons is for you to see a peek of their home life. It's not about here's everyone's signature. They're not the Ninja Turtles.
No.
They're just a bunch of kids.
They're not.
Well, the thing is also, they don't even really use the weapons.
Yeah.
The only one that they really use is the katana, and that's because John Boyega
No,
has
they
it.
use the bat a good amount.
Oh,
Like
that's
Mike
true.
uses
Oh
his
yeah, because
bat.
College Boy gets hit with it.
Yes.
Right, in the smoke.
They hit College Boy
Mostly
with it
the
in
fireworks
the face
become the most
see.
useful, but
Yes.
Yeah. Which makes sense that they would have all those fireworks.
exactly. It's another
reason.
reson why it's great that
Yes.
it's established that it's Guy Fawkes. It just explains so much and gives them a lot of leeway in the movie.
When
I mean, you could also have that other underline of, like, setting it on Guy Fawkes Night with, like, the point of Guy Fawkes Night where it's celebrating the man who tried to blow up Parliament.
yes.
Remember,
celebrating
remember
anarchism.
the block.
5th of November.
Let's not remember it. Anyway,
It's a great thing to remember.
not for me. When doing research for the film, Joe Cornish asked one of the girls, what would you think of this creature if you found it? And one of the girls literally said, I wouldn't touch it. I don't want to get chlamydia from it. And he took that and put it in the
Hell yeah.
script.
I'm glad he put that in the script. Because that's such a line that a kid like that would say. Mm-hmm. So I'm glad it was an actual real line.
Yes. Joe Cornish was inspired to make this film after actually being mugged in real life one night, and he noticed that his assailants were just as scared as he was. So
Oh, I thought you were going to say he was mugged by John Boyega.
Would you like a part in
Yes.
a motion picture, Sonny?
there's actually quite a good amount on this one compared to a few other movies. The filmmakers only use CG effects when absolutely necessary and to enhance practical effects for the creatures rather than to replace them completely. Even the smaller alien female that appears before the credits was a petite woman in a creature suit. A puppet head was used to attack. Most of the shots were in Moses is suddenly bitten, and the creature's head was a carefully constructed mask that had no eyes and even a glowing mouthful of large carnivorous teeth, which I showed you guys.
Looks dope.
And they were achieved by using animatronics, including 12 servos, rather than added in post.
That's nuts. Because there's definitely some shots of the monsters' mouths that look like CG. Like they're just moving very kind of. They're very
Yes,
they're
too
fluid and
fluid
very
to be,
natural looking, I guess. Whereas you would expect a servo-powered mouth to be kind of more jerky or just not as. And clearly they're supplementing it when you see all the rows of teeth going all the way back. Like that's got to be mostly CG.
Yeah.
Because in the picture you sent, there's just the outer layer of like canine jaw.
Joe Cornish based the character of Brewis, which is the college kid, off of himself when he was
Nice.
20.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense. Yeah.
Yes. There were also only 2 suits built for the aliens.
Yeah,
That's it.
that makes sense.
Joe was also very keen that Hi-Hats was the only person that used an actual gun.
Yeah,
He's-
that's the thing as well to me.
He's
Like,
the
kids
genuine...
didn't-
Yeah, he's the genuine villain. The only villain. He's the only guy who shoots anyone. If I put guns in the hands of the other characters, it would become a whole different film.
Yeah, it would. Because you have someone like Hi-Hats in this situation where he, wrapping back around to the horrible, horrible societal talk, he is in this situation and instead of trying to change the system or break out of the system, he in turn finds a way to then abuse those oppressed by this system, which is when my joke of haha endemic poverty exploitation comes into effect, because he has carved out his comfortable niche inside these low-income outcasts of creating himself an income and a even tiny sort of empire of drug dealing. It's not entirely an empire, but it's, you know what I mean by saying it.
Yes.
Where it's like, he knows the system is against him, and he knows the system's against those that are around him, but he still uses his own power that he has gained to oppress those even further beneath him and keep them under his heel. Which is why it works that he is the villain, because that type of character is a villain.
Yes. The jumps that Biggs does, where he's like, I'm gonna do this jump, and they're like, nah, and then he does it later, and that's his
arc.
thing. He didn't use a stunt double, he actually just did it.
Aww. So his arc was completed in real life?
Arc.
Yeah. So, did you notice any similarity when Pest put his bottle rocket things in his backpack at all?
Nope.
Could you
No,
think of
sorry.
it?
I thought you were gonna say, did you see any similarities between Moses and Finn from Star Wars?
Well, you might be surprised to
Well,
learn.
little did you know. Joe Cornish always had Boba Fett in mind, actually, when they did Pest character's costume with little rocket packs in his backpack.
Yeah, I didn't really get that, but
kind of makes sense.
it's cute.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw it. I didn't connect the dots because I didn't really think about it.
He also wanted to keep the prop of the alien cocoon, the female alien cocoon, in his backyard, and they didn't allow him to. Let's see. The bulk of this film was shot in 67 days.
That's pretty quick.
That's pretty quick.
Let's see.
At least they didn't try and shoot it in one night.
The movie was shot in one take, and then they cut it in post.
It was
it was
pretty much also shot in sequential order. So.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That shooting in non-sequential order hurts my brain too much.
When you have someone like Nick Frost who needs to be on set for like maybe a couple days at most, bring him on and off again over the course of 2 months, that's kind of rough. That's typically why you don't want to shoot sequential order, because you let scheduling work out.
Yeah, I mean, I know there's reasons not to. It's like it hurts my head so much to think like, okay, we gotta group these shots together, and like, oh god, the possibility of missing a shot is so
the
high.
handful of times I've written out like scenes to be shot, and then you're like, okay, well now we need to make a shot list, because if we shoot it sequentially, it's going to take us all day. So now I need 3 hours to figure out what the most efficient way of shooting this 3-minute scene.
It's 2 hours of figuring it out, and then it's an extra 2 hours to make sure you haven't missed a single thing.
Because that's almost inevitable.
I'm just gonna bring up that I want to kill IMDb after this, but anyway, there's a fact that y'all might not find too interesting, but the knife that Moses used is a really rare and expensive switchblade from the Czech Republic. Actually,
is it in CS:GO?
There's a whole lot of other information there that I could read about it. It's called a MiGov 241 Predator, blah blah blah. But
does John Boyega run faster while he's carrying the knife, and then for the rest of the movie he's slower after they take the knife from him? Good.
Yes.
Does he like when he goes to grab the knife? Does he open like a box and there's like a shine, and then like he reaches in and grabs it?
Okay, I'm just gonna bring up that the last two interesting facts on IMDb is that Jodie Whittaker's front door is blue. The actress is currently playing in Doctor Who.
Who?
The TARDIS also has a blue front door.
That's a completely different blue, though.
And then
that's like sky blue compared to deep blue.
And then they continue to say Jodie Whittaker and John Boyega have since gone on to leading roles in two of the biggest sci-fi franchises ever. Doctor Who and Star Wars.
I wouldn't.
Thanks, IMDb. I wouldn't have fucking known that. That's all I got, though.
So I saw this movie, you know, when it came out back in 2011, and then when they announced that the new Doctor Who was female, I was just like, oh, I have no idea who this is. And then, like, a year and a half later, I was like, that was the Attack the Block lady. Oh!
I mean, yeah, fair.
My favorite thing is, like, you went Attack the Block, and my first instinct was, oh, it's the chick from Broadchurch. And then I was like, wait, I know her from so many things.
Mm-hmm.
I've probably seen her in a lot of things.
I love Jodie Whittaker. She's a great actress. I kept thinking of, like, what would have been, like, other actresses in that role that would have been great. And it's like, oh, Olivia Colman would have been hilarious.
Yeah. So, what did you guys... Well, I know what you think of it, Barry. What did you think of it, Gamb? What did you think of Attack the Block?
I like it. I don't know if I would watch it again, like, very soon. I like it, but...
So,
I guess I would. I guess if I watched it in person, because it's kind of hard to watch on Discord with the lag.
So, yeah, I know. So, for me, this is one of my favorite movies. But...
I like it a lot.
I would not watch this movie again real soon. This is one of those that I, like, tuck away, and I'm like, you know what? I feel like watching a good movie. And I pull this one out, or I show it to friends, or whatever. It's not something I'm like, fucking want to watch that again? Like, come on, bring it. Want to watch it again.
It would be on, like, the top of my list to be like, what sort of movie do I, like, I want to watch just a movie that, like, is pretty chill. Like, because I would say this is a pretty chill movie, like, even though it's a horror movie, like, well, not really.
It's more like
just a thriller
action, thriller, horror.
But it's kind of chill. It's kind of a chill movie that you can just, like, set on and, like, it's cool. Like, it's cool to just have on in the background or, like, sit and watch with someone just for, like, the first time if they just want to watch a movie. I'd say it'd be pretty high. As a straight-up horror movie, I wouldn't say there's much horror to it, so I wouldn't really call it that much of a horror movie.
So, I kind of talked about this
society.
before you guys jumped into the Discord. I sort of separate horror movies into three things. There's deep horror, which is like psychological horrors, things that will actually keep you up at night. And then there's like mid-tier horror, which like kind of scary, you know, whatever. And then there's horror light, which is generally like monster movies and slasher films that aren't really scary. They're just kind of like, I'm going to slash you. And so for this one, I actually would put it like in mid-tier, leaning towards horror light. There are situations in this, like when they're walking through the hallway and there's smoke everywhere and no one can see anything. That's horrifying.
I guess
but it's also not horror.
Yeah.
To me, I guess, like, to classify it as a horror movie in my mind, because, like, there are those horror light movies, but I guess to me, if I sort of think about it, like, what is the point of this movie? Like, is the point of this movie to scare people, or is it to entertain people, or entertain people through scaring, or like have a message, or like entertain people with a message, like etc. Like what is the main sort of point of this movie? And to me, I don't think horror or scare people is really up the top of that list when I think about this movie.
I would agree with that.
So that's why I wouldn't really call it a horror.
What I was going to say, something that I brought up
a
a few times while we were watching it is I agree with Deer that there are moments of the movie that are definitely horrific, horrifying. But
horrifying.
horrific. But the way the movie is paced, it's got a very fast pace, and the tone of it rarely gets too heavy. There are moments where they sit and they dwell on what happened. It's not very flippant, but it's not the kind of movie where you're like, oh my god, we are in a nightmare hellscape and we are just living in it and it sucks. Like, you have a scene maybe up to 5 minutes max, and then you have some levity or comedic relief or just a tonal pace, checking in on what's his face in the trash bin, like something that makes you go like, okay, like there are threats, things suck, there are consequences to these actions, but it's not a horror movie, because a horror movie would just let you sit in that terrible place and just really dwell on it. And I don't think this movie's interested in doing that. I would say to its benefit, it's also just, I don't usually like hardcore horror movies, primarily because, it fucks with you, and then for days later, you're like, oh my god, I can't stop thinking about this shit.
Which for me, like, if a horror movie bothers me, it's like for that night, and then I'm good.
I think the best horror will stay with me for a long time, where every now and then I'm just like, oh god, that pit in my stomach, it's still there.
So I will say that, like, I'm gonna be real. I haven't given Gamb or Barry a what I would consider like deep horror movie.
I think I'd probably pass if you were like, hey.
I'm not gonna tell you if we get one. Don't worry about it.
I mean, we already watched Black Sheep, and that was about as bad as I could figure.
That was
horrifying.
And honestly, like, there's kind of I'm kind of wanting to lead up into a deep horror movie because I'm trying to figure out what kind of horror movies Gamb and Barry both like.
Am I just on the podcast now?
I'm just trying. I guess you are.
Yes. Yes.
I'm trying to think like through movies that like the horror movies that I've watched that I would call horror that has actually scared me, because I've watched a few horror movies and they haven't really scared me, mainly because like I know what's in them, or like I know that they don't have things that I don't like in them. But it's like, actually I think the one movie that traumatized me the most and scared the shit out of me wasn't even a horror movie. It was New Police Story starring Jackie Chan.
I have not seen it.
Okay, it's actually a really good movie, but it scared the fucking shit out of me because there's a scene where essentially the bad guy is taunting Jackie Chan's like police squad, and he's taunting Jackie Chan, and like Jackie Chan's going through this warehouse where like the dead bodies of his like co-workers are just like appear out of nowhere and scare the shit out of Jackie Chan and me as a kid. It's a Hong Kong action film. It's great. It's legitimately awesome.
As little tiny baby deer got scared of fucking Ghostbusters. Okay,
little tiny baby Barry was terrified of Yellow Submarine. Like a lot of shit is terrifying when you're a kid.
I had dreams for a long time where I was in the place of, I forget what his name was, but where he's attacked by Zool outside of that restaurant. And I was like, I don't remember this movie. Yes, Nick Moranis. And I don't remember this movie because I was a stupid little kid. And I'm like, I'm having these horrible dreams and I don't know where they come from.
Yeah. That scene has like the single worst bit of CGI in that entire movie.
Puppeteering?
Where it's terrible puppeteering, green screen, blue screened on top of like matted, I guess, on top of like the monster then runs away from the restaurant, and it is a terrible special effect.
Yeah.
It is not aged at all.
But no, if you've never seen Yellow Submarine and you tell me, and you watch it and you tell me that the glove is not scary, I don't believe you.
Yeah. So basically what you should get from this is watch New Police Story, don't watch Yellow Submarine, watch Attack the Block.
Well, yeah, also I was going to say real quick that like Attack the Block wasn't so much brought up in the context of horror. It was, we were talking about the host, we watched the host, we're talking about monster movies, and I was like, you know what my favorite monster movie is?
Yes.
Attack the Block. And I was like flip-flopping and like, no, I think it is my favorite monster movie because it does what every monster movie should do, which is have an interesting premise with a unique and interesting monster that you don't spend 90% of the movie building up because then it's just disappointing, and it also says something because it's not about the monster at the end of the day. And I feel like Attack the Block just nails every single box, just checks it off.
Yeah, it takes that other approach that the host did. The host was like, okay, we'll show you the monster in its entirety so you don't spend the entire movie being like, oh, what's this about the monster? Whereas, like, Attack the Block goes the opposite direction, where it's like, we'll show you the monster, but we're not going to show you up close, but we'll show you the only thing that matters about it.
And then the mystery is about how its behavior works and how they can stop it.
Yes. Yeah. So I think we had a conversation after we watched the movie. We learned that Barry has never watched
It's true.
Thing.
Yeah.
The 2011
remake
or
the thing.
2011 neither.
Remake.
Yes.
Which I don't really care about seeing the 2011 one, but I do want to watch the original.
That's fine. We can watch the original, the 1982 one.
My favorite
we're
thing
not
about
getting to that conversation.
My favorite thing about the 1982 one is there's one shot where Wilford Brimley is in a shed by himself, and he's been in there like a lot of the movie, and Kurt Russell opens like the shutter to like talk to him, and Wilford Brimley just turns to him and goes, "I'm all better now. I wanna come back in. I'm fine." And the entire shot, like as you're looking through the peephole to look at Wilford Brimley, there's just a noose hanging in front of it as if he's already contemplated killing himself in his solitude there. It's
I'm all better now.
Yep.
I'm all better now. I can come back in.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, when you decide to watch the thing, let me know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would like to watch Midsummer,
fuck.
but that has some heavy shit.
I
man. Have you
haven't,
seen
but
it?
I know of it.
It's got some heavy... I know the theming and messaging of it, but I haven't actually seen it.
Okay. We might
I
have
know
to
how
watch
it
Midsummer.
ends.
We might also have to.
Woof.
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering if it's doable on Discord because there's literal sex scenes in it.
We can watch...
We'll figure it out.
What?
I know, but like I'd like to not just offer children in my Discord who are under 18 to watch porn with me.
Dear, horror movies are rated higher. Like, what?
I have no problem with gore. I have problems with giving children porn. Okay, I'm sorry.
You don't want to break
Anyway,
Discord's
we'll
TOS
get
for
there.
movie night.
That's true, I guess. I mean, I guess I didn't think about it because I already, like, assumed, because it's like horror movies tend to be, like, MA-15 and R-18, so it's like...
Doesn't matter what you assume. Matters
makes
is the
sense.
rules.
No.
I forgot.
Also, I looked up
Anyway.
Joe Cornish real quick because I was like, what else has he done? Not much. He
Oh.
This was his
This was his breakout film.
film
Before that, he
technically.
was a writer on The Adventures of Tintin, the Spielberg one.
Oh.
And then he was a co-writer on Ant-Man, but I assume it's the Edgar Wright version that Marvel ended up scrapping, so I wonder how much of his work actually wound up in Ant-Man.
Yeah.
And then he directed and wrote The Kid Who Would Be King, which I never heard of. Came out early last
really?
year, and on a $59 million budget, earned $32 million in the box office.
I meant to fucking watch that. It looks so cool.
Well, it's the same director, and he wrote it. It's a young boy who finds King Arthur's sword Excalibur and must use it to stop an ancient enchantress from destroying the world. It looks very like Goonies.
Yeah, it's very Goonies. Here, I'll get the trailer for you so you
Yeah,
can see
but
it.
I'm like, I would be down to watch it, just apparently it flopped hard. Oh, it has good critic reviews, though.
I am also kind of tempted to make you guys watch Alien next
I
month. but,
adore
you know,
Alien.
We'll get there.
I adore Alien. It's such a good movie. Such a good fucking movie.
Oh,
Yeah, it is.
I gotta play Alien Isolation tomorrow.
Anyway.
Let's do it.
Let's do it!
You're gonna beat the game finally.
Am I? I don't
Right.
know. I'm close.
Are you?
No. I think you've got one more stream
Alright.
after this one. 'cause I don't think you'll be able to
2021.
get through all
Let's
of
go,
them.
baby.
Alright. Let's go. Alright.
Go watch
2021.
Attack the Block.
Get the fuck... Get...
It's good.
Yeah. Go
Yeah,
watch
come
And
that.
then watch The Kid Who Would Be King, apparently.
Do we want to tag anything with anything?
Hold up, Patrick
or
Stewart's
we
in
good?
this? Okay, I'm on board.
It's
okay.
so good.
I swear to
wanna
God.
watch the-
Shut up! This is it! We're going on! Just shut up. Alright, we're leaving.
Goodbye.
Goodbye,
Goodbye.
everybody.